I decided to give the expensive car you bought to my parents. What are you talking about? Mom and Dad are really happy with it. Wait, did you buy it to give to your parents? Yes, that's right. It's already done. If you don't agree, I'll divorce you. What, divorce? At that moment, something inside me broke. You're threatening divorce if I don't obey. Who do you think you are? Fine, I'm happy to go through with it. My name is Kathy, I'm 37 and work in an office. I live with my husband, Roger, and our daughter, Sarah, who just turned 7. Both Roger and I work, so we manage fine. Sarah is growing up well, and I'm happy in my own way, but I do have some complaints about Roger. He cares more about his parents than his own family. It's good to care for your family, but he often puts his parents before our daughter. This isn't easy for me. Even when I was in labor with Sarah, I called Roger at work to tell him I was having contractions. I asked him to come to the hospital because I was about to give birth. He said, "Sorry, my mom burned her finger. I need to go to her house." I was shocked. How could he care more about his mom's little burn than about me, his wife, about to give birth? My mother-in-law had burned her finger by touching a hot pen. It wasn't a big deal, she just ran it under cold water, and it was fine. I couldn't believe she'd called Roger for something so small, and I also couldn't believe Roger rushed to her side instead of coming to be with me. Roger works hard and is kind to me, but his focus on his parents really bothers me. It was the same on our daughter's first birthday. My in-laws were going on a trip and asked Roger to drive them. His first priority was driving them, and he didn't even celebrate our daughter's birthday with me. When he came home, he stayed in a hotel with his parents because they could get an extra room. It was hard to believe that Roger would choose a trip with his parents over our daughter's first birthday. After that, I started to lose trust in him. This kind of thing happened often, but I couldn't just divorce him. I still loved Roger, and I didn't think it was right to take her father away from our daughter so easily. He did care about her, so I thought that one day he would put her first. But since she was born, Roger has never celebrated her birthday with me. She's now 7 years old. He seems to think her birthday should just be the two of us, and I didn't want her to feel lonely. I even thought about inviting my in-laws to celebrate with us, but they refused, saying it was too much trouble to drive 2 hours to get here. It's true that it's far, but Roger never minds driving that distance to see them. But for us, it's a hassle? I think that's selfish. My mother-in-law is also selfish. She said things like she wanted me to have a boy instead of a girl and that she doesn't care about our daughter. I couldn't believe she said that. I don't think you can choose the sex of your child, and I don't think it matters. My mother-in-law is just old-fashioned and keeps insisting on a boy. The main reason Roger doesn't celebrate our daughter's birthday is that he's trying to please his mother. Roger always puts his parents first and can't say no to his mom. At one New Year's gathering at their house, my mother-in-law treated me terribly. She constantly criticized me, not just about not having a boy, but for other things too. "Kathy, why are you so slow? Look, someone has an empty cup. Why don't you pour them a drink?" She made fun of me in front of the other family members, like I was just a servant. My son is great, but his wife is a disaster. Her job is just some simple office work. How does she do that without getting tired? I've told her so many times that I'm not doing data entry. I'm an engineer, but she doesn't care. Data entry is an honest job too, and I don't understand why she looks down on it. I'm sure she sees our daughter, but she ignores her. She gives gifts to other relatives' kids, but not ours, and I'm angry at Roger for never stopping her. His daughter is being treated badly, and his wife is being disrespected, but he just laughs it off. He even says, "My wife can't do anything without me," trying to look good in front of everyone. I didn't want to take our daughter's father away from her, so I tried to stay patient, but eventually, I stopped loving Roger. Then one day, Roger asked me for a favor. "Actually, there's something I want to buy." "What is it?" "A car." "What, a car?" I was surprised. Roger never cared about cars. "Why all of a sudden?" "I just thought I could get a new one. You know, I drive to my parents' house all the time, so I thought I'd like a change. We live near a supermarket, and I don't drive much, so I thought I'd let Roger handle it." "Well, it's up to you. You use the car the most." Roger looked happy, then said with a bit of guilt, "Actually, here's the thing, I'll pick out the car, and you can pay for it." Roger wanted the car for himself but couldn't afford it, so he wanted me to pay for it. The truth is, my salary supports our family, and I don't expect Roger's salary to help. When I was on maternity leave, he didn't contribute financially at all. After I gave birth, I decided to quit my job and stay home with our daughter, but since I'm an engineer, I asked my company if I could work from home, which they allowed. So, I worked while taking care of our daughter. When she was little, I thought it was selfish of Roger to spend his money on himself while I had to pay for a new car, but when Roger is in a good mood, he does take care of our daughter, so I agreed to let him buy the car. Okay. Are you sure? Thank you. Roger was so happy. He immediately started looking at car catalogs and researching online. Since I was the one paying for it, I told him, it doesn't have to be a big car, just something for the three of us. Yeah, I know. He mumbled this, and I wasn't sure if he was really listening. He went to the dealership a few times and talked to the dealer. About 2 weeks later, Roger told me he was ready to buy the car and took me to the store. He was so excited. I sat down and waited for him to tell me what to do, and suddenly, there was the car and a contract. When I saw the car the dealer had prepared, I was shocked. It was a huge, luxury minivan. Oh my God, are we really buying this? Oh yeah, it's nice. I'm really excited. Wait, I don't think we need such a big car. I mean, if we have another baby, maybe it'll be useful, but right now, it's too big for just us. Roger kept insisting it was a good choice, but I couldn't believe how big it was. Even if we had another child, this car was way too big for our family of 4. Are we really buying this? I asked again, and Roger looked frustrated. Why do you keep saying that? You're making the dealer uncomfortable. You told me to leave it to you, I reminded him. I did, but that's the problem. It's done. Roger signed the contract. Then the dealer explained the price. I was shocked. I can't pay this all at once. We need to get a loan. What? Fine. I guess we have no choice. Roger insisted the car be in his name, so we took out a loan. I would pay the loan through his account. We bought the car that way, and it was delivered to our house. Wow, it's so cool, Roger said, excited. I thought, well, if he's happy with it, why not? Then something unexpected happened. One weekend, Roger had the car keys, and I asked if we were going somewhere. Where are we going? To my parents. All right. He was leaving our daughter behind to visit his parents again. Are you taking the new car? I asked, and Roger replied happily, yes, I'm giving it to my parents as a gift. What are you talking about? They're really happy with it. Wait, you bought the car for your parents? Yes, I did. You're kidding, right? You said you wanted the car, and I agreed. If you had told me from the start that you were buying it for your parents, I would never have allowed it. Too bad, it's already bought. It's in my name, so I'll do what I want with it. If you don't agree, I'll divorce you. Divorce? At that moment, something inside me snapped. I had been trying to stay calm for our daughter, but now I was realizing that Roger was willing to push us aside for his parents. Divorce? Who does he think he is? I decided to stand up for myself. Fine, let's get the divorce. What? I don't want you around anymore. Go back to your mom and dad. Mama's boy. I wanted to provoke him, and it worked. Roger's face turned red with anger. What? You're making fun of me? Fine, let's get a divorce right now. I'll go get the papers. Roger stormed off to the city office. While he was gone, I started packing. I called my parents and told them what happened. I asked them to come pick me up and told my daughter to pack her things too. When Roger came back, he had the divorce papers. I've got it, he said, holding up the forms. The handwriting was angry and rushed, as if he couldn't wait to get it over with. Without hesitation, I signed the divorce papers. Well, I'll file it, so you can just go. I'm going, even if you don't tell me to. Roger stormed off, his footsteps loud as he left. Why did I stay married to such a person for so long? I should have left you sooner. As he walked away, I thought to myself, it's no use crying over it now. I'm just relieved to be free from him. From now on, I'll focus on being the best single mom I can be. A few minutes after Roger left, my parents arrived. Together, we finished packing up all my things, loaded them into my parents' car, and went to their house. While this was happening, I filed the divorce papers, and just like that, my divorce from Roger was finalized. It was just a piece of paper, but once I submitted it and realized that we were no longer officially married, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I immediately started thinking about finding a new place for me and my daughter to live. About a week after the divorce, I was at my parents' house when I noticed the luxury car that Roger had bought. I walked in with my daughter and saw Roger and my ex-in-laws in the living room. My mom saw us and quickly took our daughter to another room. I walked into the living room, and Roger, looking panicked, immediately started talking to me. "Oh, Kathy, what's the insurance for that car?" Roger seemed frantic as he asked, "What are you doing here? Why are you barging into our house like this?" I replied coldly, "And why are my ex-parents-in-law raising their voices? We don't want to be here either." My ex-mother-in-law snapped, "We came because of the situation, didn't we? Why are you yelling at us?" My dad, quietly furious, responded, "If that's the case, can you please leave? You're strangers to us now. We'll call the police if we need to." My ex-in-laws fell silent, clearly startled. Roger, still trying to get control, said, "Hey Kathy, what's going on with the insurance payments?" I sighed in frustration. "Did you forget what you said when you signed the contract? You insisted it be in your name. You bought the car and took out the loan in your name, so you're responsible for the insurance, too." My words made Roger and his parents look pale. Roger had insisted on putting everything in his name, but now he was facing the consequences of his choices. "I didn't even want that car," I added. "He's the one who chose it, so it's his responsibility to pay for everything." It turned out that Roger and his parents had gotten so excited about the car that they drove it recklessly. They had crashed the front of the car into a wall during a trial drive. When I got home and saw the car parked, I noticed I couldn't see the front of it. It looked like the car was already showing signs of the damage from their actions. Since I wasn't paying close attention, Roger and his parents came to me for help with the car insurance. Since the car was still owned by the loan company, they would have to get it fixed under their name. Without insurance, they were responsible for all the repair costs, including the guardrail they damaged. I couldn't imagine how much it would cost to repair a luxury car, but I knew it would be expensive. In the end, Roger and his parents returned the car and were hit with a hefty repair bill. After that, I started receiving a lot of emails from Roger asking if we could get back together. One of his messages said he couldn't pay rent or utility bills and had to move back in with his parents. But his parents were treating him harshly because of the car incident. Now he doesn't want to stay at their place, but he can't live on his own due to his debts. Roger still insists on seeing our daughter, but I think that's too selfish of him. I'm ignoring his emails. Of course, I didn't tell him where we were living, and I haven't mentioned our new house. The only thing I was worried about was if our daughter would miss him. To my surprise, she doesn't seem to care and is enjoying her life. I'm focused on protecting our daughter and providing for her. I don't believe a husband should put his parents before his own family, especially when his wife is the one paying for everything and then giving a luxury car to his parents. That's just unacceptable. Roger's actions led to his own downfall, and honestly, he got what he deserved. I hope Kathy and her daughter have a wonderful life ahead. Thanks for watching until the end. Please subscribe if you enjoyed this story, and I'll see you in the next video.
Your drawings won't sell. If you have time for that, get a part-time job. Liam declared, tearing up the tickets to my art show before my eyes. As the torn pieces fluttered to the ground, tears welled up in my eyes. The dream I had nurtured since childhood, finally realized in my own art exhibition, was consistently belittled by both Liam and my in-laws whenever I picked up a pencil. Despite the constant criticism, I persisted. I juggled household chores and the care of our daughter Lucy, never neglecting my responsibilities. I refrained from criticizing Liam's hobbies, but this blatant disrespect was too much to bear. I decided I wouldn't forgive Liam. It was time to live life on my terms, without allowing anyone to dictate or complain. Picking up the torn tickets, I locked eyes with Liam. I'm Emma, 35 years old, married to Liam since I was 22. Lucy, our only daughter, just started elementary school. As a mother, seeing her adapt to school life brings me some peace of mind. After seeing Liam and Lucy off and completing household chores, I settle at my desk. Working as a freelance illustrator, my clients range from individuals to corporations. Despite steady commissions, my family has never acknowledged the value of my work. We reside in a second-hand house with my in-laws, who contribute nothing to household chores and only complain about my cooking and drawing, labeling me as useless. Their belief that drawings can't make money persists, despite my explanations. They suggest I give them money from the Social Security checks they receive, claiming it's proof of their past hard work. I proposed living separately, but Liam always defends his parents, making me the villain. Lucy adores her grandmother, who spends her money on toys for her. Lucy compares me unfavorably, believing her grandma would never say no. When I intervene, Lucy accuses me of being mean, causing public scenes. One night, after Liam scolded me for making Lucy cry, he decided that he and his mother would take care of her. This commitment lasted only 3 days before I was once again tasked with Lucy's care. Despite the challenges, my art thrived. Receiving an email invitation for a solo exhibition, I embraced the recognition from clients who appreciated my work. Working tirelessly into the night, I created new pieces for the upcoming exhibition. Despite my family's indifference, the thought of showcasing my art to a wider audience fueled my determination. Facing a dilemma about inviting Liam to the exhibition, I approached him during a baseball game he was engrossed in. His response dashed my hopes as he revealed plans to hang out with friends on the day of my exhibition. "Oh, can't you spare a little time?" I pleaded. "My artwork's been recognized, and I have a solo exhibition coming up. I was hoping you'd come see it." Liam remained fixated on the TV, silent. Desperation edged my voice as I repeated, "It's my first solo show. Some of my regulars even helped plan it. And I've got some new pieces on display." "What the hell are you talking about?" Liam finally looked at me, disdain in his eyes. "Don't drag me into your little hobby. It's not a hobby. Some of the displayed artwork might even sell. Who the hell's gonna buy your drawings? If you've got time for that, why don't you just get a part-time job?" Liam shouted, snatching the ticket from my hand. He tore it up, and the torn pieces scattered at our feet. Staring at the fragments in shock, tears welled up. Picking up the pieces, it became clear Liam would never understand my profession. I never belittled his hobbies, yet he never allowed me the same freedom. "I've had enough," I glared at him. "I can't take it anymore," I declared, venting my feelings. The words solidified my resolve. I'm gonna break up with Liam. To be honest, the thought of divorce had always been on my mind. I've already got a contact number for a lawyer who assists in the divorce process. But every time I considered it, Lucy crossed my mind. Our child needs both parents. Moreover, if I left, Lucy would have to transfer schools. That's what I'd endured all this time. But that ends today. Ignoring Liam's calls, I returned to my room. Packing my things, I confirmed the lawyer's business card was there. Heading to Lucy's room, I found her doing her homework at her desk. "Mom, I'm sorry," Lucy said. Looking at her face, guilt washed over me. I hugged her, and Lucy looked puzzled. "Lucy, I've decided to leave this house." "What?" The innocence vanished from Lucy's face. Although guilty, I continued. "What do you want to do, Lucy? Stay here with Dad or come with me?" Expecting her to choose her grandma, Lucy surprised me. "I want to be with you, Mom." "Lucy, I love the paintings you make," I said, and Lucy laughed. She smiled shyly and pointed at her desk. "Just trying to be like you. I want to be a good artist too." "No, you're already good. You'll surpass me soon." Tears filled my eyes. Lucy was drawing a young girl standing in a flower field, a theme I often drew. Leaving a note and the lawyer's business card on the dining table, Lucy and I headed to my parents' place. They welcomed us without hesitation, aware of the situation. "It must have been tough with Liam behaving like that, Emma," my mother said. "Yeah." Before I could catch my breath, my cell phone rang. It was Liam, seething with fury on the other end. "Emma, where's Lucy?" "She's with me. She decided to stay with me at my parents' place. If we're going through with a divorce, we'll need to discuss Lucy's arrangements." Though I aimed to shield Lucy from confusion, I yearned to seek support from my parents before navigating the divorce process. Surprisingly, Lucy opted to accompany me. "Dad, do you want to talk?" "Yes." I handed the phone to Lucy, and Liam's tone softened instantly. "Lucy, are you okay?" "Yeah, Dad. I'm sorry, but I want to be with Mom." "Why would you say that? Staying with her will make you unhappy. Come back home." "Dad, that's not true." Lucy replied calmly. revealing a surprising maturity. Mom tried her best all the time. I've seen it. But you and Grandma kept saying hurtful things about her paintings. I'm worried about Mom. That's why I want to stay with her. With that, Lucy ended the call and gave me a bashful smile. I patted her head. Although it seemed we had no allies in that house, Lucy had been watching. In the following days, Liam bombarded my parents' home with calls and letters, all demanding Lucy's return. It's okay. Everything will be all right. Yeah, thanks, Mom. I continued my work as an illustrator, maintaining a calm demeanor while working from my parents' place. Unlike my in-laws, my parents contributed to household chores, and we supported each other. Naturally, I spent more time with Lucy. She asked me to teach her how to draw and help her with her studies, and I always responded with a smile. Alongside household chores, my art also demanded my attention. Still, I never mistreated Lucy, who had chosen to stay with me. As the day of my solo exhibition approached, my father couldn't attend due to work, but I decided to take my mother and Lucy. Then, one day, a knock echoed at my parents' front door. Lucy eagerly ran to answer it, but halted abruptly, returning to me in a frightened voice, "Mom, Dad's here." I had anticipated Liam might show up in person eventually. I took a deep breath. I had no intention of letting him in or even opening the door. I planned to send him away immediately. "What do you want?" I tried to sound as cold as possible. To my surprise, Liam's reply was, "Emma, please come back." I was wrong. "What are you trying to do?" I asked. His sincerity seemed genuine. In a weak voice, Liam continued, "My parents aren't doing anything. They're just eating fast food, and the laundry's been piling up since the day you left." It seemed my expectations were coming true. With Liam out for work most of the time, this situation must be challenging for him. Wearing wrinkled clothes repeatedly and unable to maintain a tidy appearance, finding new jobs was likely difficult. The house was descending into chaos. "Please help me out. I wasn't doing anything in that house either, right?" I let out a sigh. "Your mother said I was a wife who didn't even do housework. You agreed so too." I was wrong. My mom claimed she was doing all the housework, and I believed her. I was fooled. He spoke as if he were a victim, despite joining my mother-in-law in bad-mouthing me. "Don't you have any intention to do housework yourself? I've never even held a knife, and I don't know how to use the washing machine. That doesn't mean you can rely on me." Essentially, he wanted me to return and handle the piled-up chores. What a joke. I'm never going back to that house. The day I left, I let go of all my feelings for Liam. There's no way I'm going to feel sorry for him now. I'm not your maid. Isn't it a wife's duty to do housework? Liam's tone became harsh. Beyond exasperation, I calmly responded, "I don't want to be your wife anymore. Every morning, I rose early to prepare your lunch, yet never received a word of gratitude from you. There were days when the disappointment cut deeper upon seeing the untouched lunch. I diligently hung the laundry and ironed them to perfection, striving for a wrinkle-free result. Do you understand? I've been carrying out these chores 365 days a year without a single thank you. So what's your point? Isn't that what wives are supposed to do? If there had been gratitude, we could have been a normal couple. I feel more strongly now that we'll never truly understand each other. Liam didn't get it, and he didn't want to. He was just temporarily down on his luck. Deep down, he hasn't changed. I'm going to live on my own strength. You should try hard on your own too." "Hey, Emma." Liam continued, but I ignored him and returned to the living room. Despite Liam banging on the door, he eventually seemed to give up and left. My exhibition turned out to be reasonably successful. Walking around the venue hand in hand with Lucy, my mother beside us, she pointed to a visitor and remarked, "Isn't that Liam?" Ha! I was taken aback. Facing Liam directly would be awkward, and it might bother Lucy. With these thoughts, I observed the visitor's face. He wore his hat low, but it was unmistakably Liam. "Mom, watch Lucy for me." "All right." I left Lucy with my mother and approached Liam. speaking quietly to avoid disturbing others. "What are you doing here? Have you really made painting your job?" His tone lacked spirit, and his clothes appeared wrinkled and unkempt. Liam's eyes briefly met mine. "But you're not selling any, right? Look over there." I pointed to a certain corner of the venue. "The painting on the wall is a new piece. Below it, it shows sold. That painting's already been snagged by a private collector, and it has a price tag. Want to know how much?" "No, I'm good." Liam took a step back, looking startled. The sight of my artwork being sold seemed to shock him. "Excuse me, do you have a moment?" A local newspaper reporter approached, expressing their intent to feature the exhibition in an upcoming article, along with an interview. For freelancers, networking is crucial, and this was a welcome opportunity. Liam's eyes widened. "You're really making it big, aren't you?" "Well, let's just say I make more than you do," I replied matter-of-factly. Liam looked flustered, letting out a groan. He seemed to grasp the reality that our incomes were just enough to get by, and his parents' social security checks weren't the financial cushion they believed them to be. "Emma, you're really something." "What are you talking about now?" I walked away from Liam, but he followed closely. "Emma, let's start over. Paint as much as you want. I'll help with the chores. Please come back." I didn't respond. His plea felt too self-serving, leaving me dumbfounded. Then I noticed someone watching, a ragged-looking couple. It was Liam's parents. Standing in front of my sold painting, their eyes darted between the sold sign and me. They didn't even glance at the artwork. They were simply astonished that my paintings could turn into cash. "Liam, how did you get in without the ticket?" When I told them I'm the husband of the illustrator, they let me in. "You mean ex-husband?" I corrected, irritation evident. By tearing up the ticket, Liam had severed any benefits from my artwork. Now he had no choice but to rely on his income and the meager social security his parents boasted about. "Excuse me, this artwork is wonderful." "Thank you," another customer complimented, leading to another painting being sold. Liam and his parents stood there, visibly stunned. From the next day, relentless calls from Liam flooded in. "Dad, what the heck happened? I wonder what should we do?" His attempts to reconcile were unprecedented. After some thought, I reported Liam to the police as a stalker. Despite receiving a warning, Liam persisted with his calls and stalking, resulting in police custody. "Me? A stalker? You gotta be kidding! I'm her husband." That was his futile argument, considering we were already divorced. His parents, embarrassed and feeling the judgmental gaze of their neighbors, distanced themselves from Liam as if fleeing. Regardless of where they went, rumors followed. My family never approved of my job. "That must have been tough," I shared during an interview. I'd opened up about the agony of not receiving recognition for my work from Liam and his parents. The headline in the local paper read, "Rising Star Creator, a Tragic Heroine." Despite adversity, she continued drawing. Looking at the article, it felt as though it was about someone else. Being labeled a tragic heroine wasn't as glamorous as it sounded. It was indeed challenging. However, things had changed for the better. I now had my daughter, my parents, and fans who appreciated my work. "Liam, the very thing you rejected had this much power." Thanks to the feature in the local paper, my reputation as an author improved. I started receiving more work and could support my daughter on my income alone. Staying at my parents' house felt uncomfortable, so I rented an apartment near my daughter's school. My parents seemed disappointed, offering, "You can always stay with us. You've been through a lot in that house." "Thanks, but it's my life," I said, reminding myself not to rely on others, a lesson taught by Liam and his parents. I'm going to take that lesson to heart. One day, my daughter brought a friend home from school. Adjusting well after transferring, despite the inconveniences caused by my circumstances, she proudly introduced me. "My mother's an artist." "That's so cool." Since moving, my daughter sounded more mature. She switched from calling me mom to mother and began practicing drawing more seriously. Previously, she doodled random drawings, but now she showed interest in the tools I used for work and spent more time watching me. I'm gonna be like you, mother. Really? That makes me happy. Want to try using this pen? Really? She blushed with excitement, reminding me of the joy I felt when I got new art supplies. Like mother, like daughter. At first, Lucy couldn't draw a straight line. Every attempt resulted in warped lines, creating a jumbled mess. However, after many tries, Lucy's drawing started to resemble actual pictures, and her use of paints and colored pencils showed promise. Apparently, she was one of the best artists in her class. Look at this, the teacher complimented her drawing. Really? Let me see. I was truly amazed. Witnessing my daughter's growth made me incredibly proud. I had only taught Lucy the basics, breaking down the human body into sections for easier drawing and explaining the relationship between light and shadow. Beyond that, she must have learned by watching me work or studying my finished paintings. Lucy might be even more talented than me, and I honestly believed it. Lucy gave a shy smile, expressing her determination. I'm going to keep on drawing for Lucy, for my fans, and most importantly, for myself, who never gave up on art no matter the circumstances. Navigating life with my in-laws has become quite a challenge. They seem intent on moving into our newly acquired home and expecting me to cater to their every need. The irony is, as soon as I began to find success and make money, their demands escalated. It's disheartening to see one of my life's biggest dreams coming true, only to have it undermined in the most absurd way imaginable. Welcome to the chaos that is my life, courtesy of my dear in-laws. My wife Jackie and I have enjoyed 2 happy years of marriage. I work for a video game company, and she's a college professor, and we've excelled in our respective careers. Since our early days together, we've demonstrated a shared commitment to building a future together. Call us fanciful or fast-paced, but our relationship has always been grounded in a shared vision. Our journey began with hypothetical talks about the future, which eventually materialized into a wedding and now a home of our own. The missing piece of our life plan involved securing a house, a crucial step before moving on to the next chapters, like pets and babies. We started in a modest rental, saving diligently to achieve our dream of owning a home in an ideal suburb. The prospect of having a space to call our own filled us with excitement. We took on extra jobs to make financial progress, which unfortunately led to less time together and strained our relationship. Despite the challenges, we persevered, scraped together the down payment, and secured a fantastic deal on a 4-bedroom house with a backyard, spacious kitchen, and 3 bathrooms. The house even came furnished, thanks to substantial gifts received after our wedding. This achievement marked not only a milestone for us as a couple, but also a triumph in the face of economic challenges. Our home symbolized the unbreakable bond we shared. The only remaining task was to complete the purchase of white goods, a relatively easier step given the generous gifts we received. Yet, as we reveled in our success, the intrusion of my in-laws threatened to overshadow our joy and complicate our happily ever after. We invested in essential appliances, including cleaning machines and an executive refrigerator, enabling us to weather the situation for a few months. The first night in our new home was a joyous celebration, marked by a mini party with our closest friends and family. However, the tone took a somber turn when my in-laws subtly hinted at their desire to come and live with us, an idea that now haunts my thoughts. Let me provide some context about my in-laws. Outwardly, they are individuals who consistently present a facade of laughter and contentment, appearing to be exemplary parents to the world. However, beneath this veneer lies a darker reality that Jackie, my wife, has shared with me. Her childhood was marked by physical abuse and mental punishment, with her parents instilling bizarre beliefs, such as considering cartoons as satanic, deeming colored clothes unsuitable for public wear, and asserting that candy caused cavities almost immediately. These were traumatically misleading messages for children. Jackie's brother, Joel, the family clown and the youngest sibling, faced rejection when he came out about 6 years ago, shortly after Jackie and I began dating. The parents did not handle his revelation well. I recall moments when Jackie seemed avoidant and irritable in the early stages of our relationship. I initially thought it was directed at me, but I later learned that these emotions were a result of family arguments involving Joel splashing onto her and their other brother. Despite Joel's relatively reserved nature, several disputes led to him leaving home. Initially, he sought refuge with a friend who offered support in dealing with his problems. However, after subsequent arguments, following the conflicts Joel had with Jackie and the other brother, he moved out, and to this day, his whereabouts remain unknown. Occasionally, he sends messages to Jackie and his siblings assuring them that he's fine, but he refrains from disclosing his location until his parents accept him. Regrettably, the older generation is steadfast in their refusal to embrace their son as he is. Choosing to lose him rather than love him unconditionally, the question looms: do I want these individuals to be part of my son's life? Frankly, they're not even the type of people I wish to be associated with. Their pride in an old-school mindset clashes with my values. I refuse to be someone who lacks respect for others or, worse, pretends that everything is fine when it's not. Adding to my disdain, they now want to invade our home. They approached Jackie, and notably, I was excluded from that conversation. They didn't ask if they could move in. Instead, they issued it as a directive. Jackie's relationship with her parents is complicated. She doesn't want to be around them, yet she grapples with the belief that parents are parents and blood ties are unalterable. I'll admit that I've never been their favorite, for reasons ranging from my job in the lucrative video game industry to the fact that I have tattoos, which they associate with the devil. When I heard about their plan to move in, I adamantly said no. I urged Jackie to talk to them, but she insists she's tried, leaving me uncertain about how this situation will unfold. Fast forward to the present, and the scenario has become utterly bleak. My in-laws arrived with their car and suitcases, ready to move in. It's been a week since then, and conflicts have erupted. The primary issue revolves around their car, which they consistently leave in the garage, inconveniencing us. We must seek their permission to access our own truck when we need it. Despite being the ones who go out the least, they insist on keeping their car in the front for emergency exits. This ongoing clash has made the situation increasingly difficult. Yeah, I get it. It's understandable, but it's still incredibly annoying. They even made Jackie late for class because they left without the car and took the car keys with them, leaving us locked in. Jackie had to resort to taking the bus, arriving almost half an hour late. The worst part is that they don't seem willing to change or comprehend the impact of their actions. We've spoken to Jackie's brother Jonathan, but he feels unable to assist right now, given his 3 children and smaller, less comfortable house. We don't want to burden them further. My in-laws have their own house, and yet they seem to do this just to irritate us. Despite their age, they don't require special care. In fact, being in a place like this only stresses them more. It's not that I dislike extra help. It's just that they are like pieces of furniture, utterly useless. At least furniture is comfortable and helps you relax. They are the antithesis of furniture, annoying by their mere presence. It's only been one Sunday since they arrived, and if every weekend is going to be like this, I'd rather not have them in the same city. My mother-in-law blared the religious channel at full volume, disrupting one of the few occasions where Jackie and I could sleep in. Meanwhile, Jackie's dad smokes like a chimney in the courtyard, and the smoke occasionally wafts into our makeshift office, permeating the room with the scent of nicotine. It's unpleasant, makes me cough, and raises the risk of getting sick. Jackie tells me that her father quit smoking years ago, but picked up the habit again at 70, feeling that at that point, nothing else could hurt him. There are many aspects of this situation that worry me, but one specific concern is their hinting at bringing all their stuff from the old house to sell. This move would make their stay with us permanent, and that fills me with dread and sadness. As absurd as it may sound, my in-laws aren't fans of pets, and they refuse to adopt any animals. This leaves me wondering when they started having more say in my household than I do. Regarding Jackie, she does her best. But the biggest issue lies in the fact that I spend the most time in the house, making the experience incredibly uncomfortable. Besides, they treat their daughter like a servant, asking her for breakfast and to buy medicine. I've offered to help, but she can be stubborn, insisting that, as her parents, it's her responsibility. I don't want her to shoulder all the chores, understanding that she can get very tired. At this point, I feel useless in my relationship. Update number 2. Thank goodness this remains anonymous, as I wouldn't want my acquaintances to know that, like much of the world's population, I despise my in-laws. Mary and Joseph couldn't be worse as housemates. They've completely taken over the home that Jackie and I painstakingly built from scratch, from the decorations to our daily routine. Even the most personal touches, like buying tons of tapioca and putting up decorations from their trips around the country, now define more than half of the house. It no longer feels like the creation of a young couple, but has been transformed into their new sanctuary, and it disgusts me. Friction on both sides has escalated. There was a day when I was taking a bath, and my father-in-law casually announced that he was coming in to pee, claiming the upstairs bathroom was better. I protested, stating that this was a blatant invasion of privacy. However, he argued that I had the curtain drawn, so there was no need to be upset. Keep in mind, we have 3 bathrooms, and neither of them contributes to other aspects of the house, such as preparing meals. Jackie learned to cook with her siblings because it was a matter of life and death for her mother. However, the in-laws show no interest in contributing to household tasks. I thought they'd be a humble family that not only respected but also took advantage of their daughter's culinary skills. Instead, they are solely interested in the house, reducing Jackie and me to serving as tissues. Cheap ones at that. Our attempts to host friends have been marred by constant complaints from the in-laws. They text us incessantly from their room, complaining about everything from the music volume to our alcohol consumption. They even insisted that it's impolite for hosts to drink in their own house. Now, our friends formally decline our invitations, and it's disheartening. We're forced to sacrifice our social life to accommodate unwelcome guests in our own home. Update number 3. I finally experienced a brief period of peace at home. Jonathan, Jackie's brother, understanding our situation, decided to take my in-laws for a weekend under the pretext that his children would spend more time with their grandparents. We were immensely grateful, seizing the opportunity to enjoy some privacy. Friday was spent sleeping until noon on Saturday without worrying about a thing. On Sunday, we watched movies and tried out a couple of recipes we've been wanting to make for a long time. As hard as it is to admit, we felt like we still had so much more to do. Consequently, Jackie and I discussed the difficult decision of asking my in-laws to find their own place, as painful as it may be. I assured her that I would stand by her side during the conversation, aiming to remain strong. We decided to discuss our concerns with her parents upon their return. That Monday evening, after returning from work, we broached the topic with them. However, initiating a conversation about not wanting an older couple to live with you is inherently awkward. The challenge lay in figuring out how to express our desire for them to have their own space without offending them. Inevitably, the discussion turned to the 2 options we saw: placing them in a nursing home or keeping them with us. Financial considerations were set aside as we genuinely believed a nursing home would offer the best care and comfort for everyone involved. Unfortunately, they did not share our perspective. The mere proposal offended them deeply. Despite offering to assist with expenses, they began raising their voices, insisting they were not feeble old people and that we needn't go to such lengths for them. Feeling the tension rise, Jackie spoke up, stating, "To be honest, it's become somewhat complicated for us to keep the 2 of you in the house. Not so much economically, but in terms of living together because we want and need to have our own space as a couple." Their reaction was loud and defensive. Unable to tolerate their shouting, I interjected, stating that we never wanted them in the house in the first place. They invited themselves. This struck a nerve, as they felt we saw them as useless burdens. In response, they scolded us, portraying themselves as victims. My father-in-law, refusing to yield, asserted that nobody would force him out of his own house. The situation escalated when he turned violent, threatening me due to our age difference. While I am not a violent person, the confrontation brought out the worst in me. Jackie intervened, calming us down and suggesting we discuss the matter in the morning. By then, I had reached my breaking point. I firmly asserted that there was no way they would stay at my place. The night concluded with them retreating to their room, upset, mirroring our own feelings. Strangely, it became a night of peace in the house, with both parties silently stewing in their thoughts. I even dreamt of evicting them on the spot, as crude as it may sound. I'm struggling to find an immediate solution to this ongoing conflict, but Jackie and I are in constant communication, brainstorming potential resolutions. Update number 4. I sense that some readers might be anticipating a more intense turn in the story. And unfortunately, it did take a somber turn. Jackie had a significant argument with her parents, details of which she chose not to share with me. I was left in limbo for a couple of days. About a week ago, when their conversation concluded, I found Jackie crying as she packed a small bag, apologizing and explaining that she'd stay at Jonathan's for a few days. Just like that, my life vanished from our home to her brother's, leaving me alone with my in-laws for 2 whole days. No one addressed the situation with me during that time, and Jackie, through occasional messages, assured me she'd be back soon, enjoying time with her nephews. I tried to stay home as little as possible during this period, allowing ample time for reflection on what our next course of action should be. Despite my efforts, no clear plan emerged. When Jackie returned, she presented the final details of her master plan to rid ourselves of her parents. I won't delve into the specifics for now, but I'll emphasize that when someone messes with your spouse, even if they're her parents, forgiveness may not be on the table. Update number 5. It's been 3 long months since the last update, and the situation has left Jackie and me on edge. We've exhausted all avenues to evict her parents, even exploring legal means, but the protective laws for older individuals seem to work against us. In an almost absurd twist, they attempted to take over the house, revealing documents that implied Jackie's consent, though she signed without understanding. We chose to remain silent at the time, but now we've decided to show them no mercy. We've organized a plan to sell the house without informing them. It's painful that we can't even make it our own home, but it seems we may have to follow in the footsteps of Jackie's younger brother, Joel, and simply disappear from their lives. In our pursuit of happiness and peace, the realization struck that having my in-laws hovering over us, whispering negativity, was not conducive to a good life for anyone. So we've decided to offer our house to work colleagues of a friend, people we're not particularly close to. My friend will play a pivotal role in recommending the house for sale at a good price. You might wonder about the whereabouts of my in-laws in this equation. Well, they'll be on vacation with my father-in-law's younger sibling for 2 weeks. During this time, we plan to finalize arrangements, take our belongings, and leave the house under Jonathan's care. He's been helping us and assured us that his parents still have their old residence to return to. Jonathan is not afraid to confront them when they move back, especially since his family lacks the space to support them, even if they wanted to. We'll be making them move during this period, organizing everything to remain anonymous long enough to slip away unnoticed. It may seem a bit crazy, but we're serious about regaining our own space without unwanted intruders. Update number 6. We're still at the party, and if my excitement is palpable, it's because we all are. I'll cut to the chase as I sense your anticipation. We did go through with the change, finalizing the sale, leaving the place, and what transpired afterward is worthy of a television series. In chronological order, we sold the house, stayed with Jonathan's family for a couple of days to complete the move, and secured an apartment in the city center. While smaller than our previous home, we had surplus funds that found their way into a savings account. Then came the waiting, a mere 2 or 3 days that felt like the longest of our lives. A little less than a week later, we started receiving messages from Jonathan detailing the aftermath. We owe our lives to him because he almost masterfully covered up our tracks. Upon their return, my in-laws found the house inhabited by strangers, adorned with new decor, and none of their old belongings. The family that was now in residence returned to find a pair of older individuals complaining and yelling about why they were in their house. Instead of being bewildered, the family's reaction infuriated my in-laws. So, without hesitation, they dialed the police. While I wasn't privy to all the details, I knew it was a bitter situation. The elderly couple ended up spending a couple of nights at the police station as authorities tried to untangle the mess. What intrigued and somewhat troubled me was the conspicuous absence of our involvement in the elders' saga. The new owners reached out to us, but we insisted they relocate the elderly pair due to the potential legal ramifications of illegal trespassing, a demand they promptly fulfilled. Legal disputes ensued, and we closely followed the proceedings. Thankfully, we remained unscathed, only providing some private statements. It was a trying time, and Jackie shed many tears, but ultimately, we emerged victorious. The elderly couple, facing the possibility of trespassing charges, incurred a substantial fine and were mandated to return to their own home. This marked their lowest point, as they were already established in a residence, making the legal implications quite severe. In a nutshell, we got what we desired. The elders paid the fine, tails between their legs, and we returned home. According to Jonathan, they couldn't have been angrier. Oddly enough, a couple of positive outcomes emerged from this ordeal. First and foremost, we reconnected with Jackie's brother Joel, who, upon learning about his parents' actions, decided to rejoin us. We invited him home, and he accepted. Future updates will delve into his stories from the past few years. Plans for a family dinner are in the works, sans the older folks. We're eager to capture moments with pictures, knowing that the parents lack social networks to stalk us. Here's a little secret. After the dinner, we plan to reveal another joyful development. Jackie's pregnant, and I'm going to be a dad. It's an exciting time for us, financially supported by what we saved at the apartment. Though not guaranteed, Joel expressed a willingness to assist with the baby's care. We're thrilled, as we were on the brink of thinking it might not happen. Despite the potential awkwardness when the baby asks for grandparents, we're embracing the start of a new and promising chapter for our growing family. Reflecting on the comments, some argue that our actions were overboard, advocating for a straightforward confrontation. While I understand those sentiments, the unique plan we executed unfolded successfully, leading to positive outcomes in our lives. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section below. I appreciate your engagement and hope you all have a fantastic day. Stay kind. It's inconceivable for someone lacking an academic background like yours to be involved in teaching, particularly since it could adversely impact her academic performance. Upon discovering that I was providing academic support to my niece, my sister-in-law directed her anger towards me. Sophia, why are you associating with someone like her? What if you end up like her? My sister-in-law seemed to perceive my presence as something detrimental, her cold attitude testing my patience. Amy, think before you speak. Who do you think contributes to our comfortable life? Isn't it because Mary works hard at home? In response to my mother-in-law's gentle words, my sister-in-law became even more emotional. Why are you defending her? Isn't it her duty to handle household chores? She's not just doing housework. She works hard and contributes a lot to the household. You just gallivant around without contributing. If anything, you should be grateful to Mary. Do you really believe she's working earnestly? I can't imagine someone like her being interested in essential tasks. My sister-in-law then impulsively grabbed my desktop computer and threw it out of the window. What are you doing? You're probably pretending to work hard without achieving anything. Leave this house immediately. I rushed outside to check on my computer, but it was damaged beyond repair. I had also lost valuable work data. Her immature actions genuinely shocked and disappointed me. I couldn't fathom continuing to live together under such circumstances. I had been tolerating it for the sake of my relationship with my husband and mother-in-law, but this incident pushed me beyond my limits. I left a message and decided to return to my parents. I am Mary, 29 years old. Last year, I started a new life with my beloved husband, Scene. Initially, we imagined living in a city apartment as we both worked nearby. However, Scene was always concerned about his mother's health, as she often experienced knee pain due to her previous job. Walking even a short distance required frequent breaks. Knowing this, we suggested living together. Upon hearing our proposal, she brightened up and said, "Mary, you want to live with us? I'm so happy." She's a genuinely kind-hearted person and warmly welcomed me. However, my sister-in-law, Amy, was fixated on academic backgrounds. During our first family meal, my educational background came up, and her demeanor changed. "Mary, you didn't go to college, right? Why would Scene choose someone like you?" She spoke to me in a somewhat harsh manner. "Sis, that's not a nice thing to say. Mary graduated from a national university, and Scene and I graduated from a famous private university. Couldn't you find someone smarter and more charming? What's the merit of marrying someone with a lower education?" My mother-in-law reprimanded Amy, saying, "Stop it, Mary." I'm sorry for the rude things she said, but I was already left speechless. I grew up with my hardworking mother after losing my father at a young age. Unable to afford college, I started working. In such circumstances, I was fortunate to work at a tax accountant office, and another opportunity came my way. My boss encouraged me, saying, "Why don't you try getting a certified public accountant qualification, Mary? I believe you can do it." Encouraged by his support, I embarked on a new challenge, hoping to secure better job opportunities, increase my income, and better support my mother. My husband understood my aspirations and conveyed my efforts to my sister-in-law. However, she remained cold and indifferent. Despite my genuine intentions, my sister-in-law's words cut deep when she uttered, "If Mary becomes pregnant, I hope the child won't take after her and will be intelligent." These words struck me unexpectedly, making me question if my feelings stemmed from having only a high school diploma. Perplexed, I chose not to escalate the situation, refraining from further discussion. Subsequently, my sister-in-law would frequently mock me over trivial matters, commenting on my cooking speed or reminiscing about her university days during casual conversations, seemingly to taunt me. What bothered me more was that she imparted similar comments to her daughter, Sophia. Sophia, being a kind-hearted child, obediently listened to her mother's words. My sister-in-law had high expectations for Sophia, now preparing for her junior high school entrance exam at S Academy Junior High. Although my sister-in-law took a part-time role there without a teaching license, she did it to avoid additional responsibilities. In front of me, she would deliberately tell Sophia, "Let's work hard together for the future." Frustrated, I bit my lip, lacking the courage to confront my sister-in-law and not wanting to drag my husband and mother-in-law into any trouble. Despite our infrequent meetings, I told myself that enduring her behavior would be okay. However, an unexpected development awaited us one day. My sister-in-law suddenly arrived at our house, holding Sophia's hand, and casually announced, "Mom, I got divorced. We'll be staying here for a while. Please take care of us." Both my mother-in-law and I were shocked by this sudden news, questioning why it happened so abruptly. My sister-in-law responded with a sigh, stating, "That man was so annoying till the end. He incessantly complained about the smallest things and never listened to me, yet he decided to divorce just because of that." Before my mother-in-law could continue, she stopped herself. "It's not just that," my sister-in-law replied with a bitter smile. "When I asked for alimony during the divorce, he only agreed to pay $600. After being together for so long, I was shocked by the amount. So, I thought it would be better to come back home where I don't have to worry about living expenses. Plus, I wanted to spend more time with you, Mom." She showed a slight smile and held her mother's hand. I can live peacefully in this house. She then laid back on the sofa, scrolling through her smartphone, with packed bags and boxes scattered around the room. My mother-in-law and I were lost for words, watching this chaotic scene. A look of surprise and confusion was evident on my mother-in-law's face, and I shared those feelings as well. After a while, my sister-in-law handed me some of her clothes, asking, "Mary, can you wash these for me later?" I suggested that they should be sent to the dry cleaners, but she replied, self-centered, "You could do that much for me, right?" From then on, not only did her requests increase, but her troublesome behavior also intensified. One day, I discovered an oil-based pen stain on the laundry, which was clearly her doing. Upon seeing me sigh at the stain, she remarked smugly, "Oh, did I make a little mistake?" Then she added, "People with low education can't even do housework properly, can they? I wonder if there's any value in living for someone as useless as you." Her actions were causing my stress levels to peak. I reached my breaking point and finally decided to discuss it with my husband. I work all day and still have to deal with housework when I get home. It's a real burden when she purposely makes things difficult. "I understand it's hard for me to see you going through this," my husband replied, listening to me quietly. He promised we'd find a solution together. That night, he confronted my sister-in-law about her behavior. My husband's warm words and actions always gave me a sense of security. However, from the next day, the harassment from my sister-in-law escalated even further. "You think he protects you, don't you? But to others, you just seem overly dependent. Relying only on a man doesn't make you strong. I don't have any intention of being dependent, depending on someone, being protected by them. To others, you might seem like a coward. Can't you stand on your own?" Holding back my emotions became harder with each of my sister-in-law's words. Despite facing many hardships in life and taking pride in overcoming them, I couldn't stand being hurt by her words. Seeing my distress, my husband seemed wary from the constant confrontations with his sister and began avoiding her. However, my sister-in-law's harassment didn't stop with me. It began affecting Sophia as well. She was keen on getting Sophia admitted to S Academy and was eager to send her to a tutoring school. "Sophia, what's this test score? You can't get into S Academy with these grades. I apologize if your grades don't improve. Maybe you will need to hire a tutor. But remember, it's up to how hard you work." Sophia, looking like she was on the verge of tears, nodded. She had already been going to a cram school every day after school, and getting a private tutor would make her lose any free time she had left. Feeling sorry for Sophia, I offered, "Do you want to study with me? I can help you with some things, really. Of course, I'm here for you." From then on, we started studying together, being careful not to get noticed by my sister-in-law. Although Sophia sometimes struggled, she grasped concepts when taught patiently. "Mary, I got 80 points on my test." "That's great," Sophia exclaimed. "You worked really hard." Sharing that success brought genuine warmth to our hearts. My mother-in-law, who noticed our efforts, sometimes cheered us up secretly by sharing delicious cakes with us. The time spent with her and Sophia became my healing moments. However, this peaceful time was short-lived. One day, while studying with Sophia, my sister-in-law unexpectedly returned home. Seeing us, she shouted, "What are you doing? You, with no formal education, are teaching her? I can't believe it. You might make her grades drop. Stay away." Furthermore, my sister-in-law slapped Sophia on the shoulder and yelled, "Why are you spending time with her? Do you want to end up like her?" The way she spoke about me as if I were contagious made my anger boil over. All the things I had been holding back just overflowed. As I told you before, I'd only graduated high school due to financial reasons. Judging someone solely based on their educational background is wrong. "What did you say?" My sister-in-law exploded even more. Hearing the commotion, my mother-in-law intervened, saying, "What's happening here? Mary is getting too close to Sophia." What if her low educational background influences Sophia? Do you know who's ensuring our comfortable lifestyle? Haven't you seen how hard Mary works at home? My mother-in-law's calm yet pointed words only fueled my sister-in-law's anger. Why are you defending her? Anybody can do household chores. It's not just chores. She's working hard, contributing to our household. All you do is go out and play, indifferent to what's happening at home. You should be more grateful. Are you saying she has a proper job? I can't believe it. With that, my sister-in-law grabbed my PC from the desk and threw it out the window. Why would you do that? That job you cherish so much probably isn't that big of a deal. Stop acting so pretentious. Just leave this house already. I rushed outside in a panic to check my computer, but it was broken beyond repair. It contained my work's vital data. Feeling anger and disappointment towards her childish behavior, living together with someone like this became impossible. For a long time, I had valued my relationship with my husband and mother-in-law, trying to protect our household. However, I had felt my limits. That night, I left a note and decided to return to my parents' home. The next morning, I received repeated calls from my sister-in-law, but I ignored all of them. However, within a week, my husband and sister-in-law showed up at my workplace. He strongly conveyed his apologies, saying, "Amy's completely wrong this time. Amy, please apologize sincerely." Though encouraged by Sean, her dissatisfaction was evident from her attitude. Why should I apologize? Sophia's grades have clearly dropped in her absence. Mary's presence must have been important not only for Sophia, but for you as well. Indeed, I had felt guilty deep down about Sophia's academic struggles. It seems there's no other way. Mary, come back home and support Sophia's studies. I never wanted to live with someone with your educational background, but I'll endure it for Sophia's sake. I had wanted to return for Sophia's sake, but her arrogant tone nearly extinguished that desire. If you truly care about Sophia's education, why don't you teach her yourself, Amy? You strongly recommended her to study for exams. So why are you neglecting her? I didn't want to be told anything by someone like you. Encouraged by Sean, her dissatisfaction was evident from her attitude. I encouraged Sophia to study for exams because I don't want her to end up in a lowly position like you. Is that really all there is to it? I want Sophia to grow up to be an elite adult like me. I want her to graduate from a renowned university and build a career like the one I've established at the prestigious S Academy. She continued flaunting her own success. Unable to bear the exchange, my company's director intervened and tried to resolve the matter peacefully. Excuse me. I assume you are Mary's family. Nice to meet you. Yes, that's right. My husband greeted the director politely. I have overheard a little. I'd like to affirm that Mary has shown tremendous capability and contributed significantly to our company. Really? I never thought you'd hire someone with just a high school degree. Education doesn't solely define a person's abilities. Even compared to university graduates, Mary has been producing equal, if not better, results. My director's words left my sister-in-law with a surprised expression. Do you truly believe that? I think educational background determines one's status and value, the director responded. Carly, you mentioned you work at S Academy. May I have your name? My name is Amy Smith. You're Miss Smith. I've heard about your troublesome attitude and behavior. Are you implying Mary has been speaking ill of me? No, I haven't. I've heard about you from Mary, but I have heard about you from the principal and other staff at S Academy. Amy's eyes widened, clearly taken aback. Here's the reason. The director handed her a business card that clearly reads Academy Board Chairman. You're the chairman? Both my husband and I were utterly shocked, lost for words upon understanding the information on the card. Amy's demeanor changed instantly, her eyes filled with fear and surprise. I've heard about your behavior and issues within the academy, delegating your work, shirking responsibilities, and even discriminatory actions towards students. Numerous problems have been pointed out. In a panic, Amy responded, "That's not true." Of course, I was considering a direct response. Upon hearing this, my sister-in-law started to panic. I can't lose my current job. I just got divorced and did stuff to support my daughter and myself, she begged desperately, with a serious look on her face. The principal replied calmly but with deep understanding. Our school's policies and philosophies are clear. We cannot tolerate work behavior like yours. My sister-in-law was devastated and burst into tears on the spot. The next day, an official notice from the S Academy confirmed that she had to leave the school. Unable to hide her shock, she returned home in confusion. Afterwards, she locked herself in her room, and occasional voices of anger and dissatisfaction could be heard. This situation started affecting the family dynamics. Her stress was often directed at Sophia, and the tension in the household grew day by day. How can you not even solve this simple problem for a sixth grader? This is unacceptable. You will not rest or sleep until you finish this textbook tonight, so make sure to get it right. Sophia had been studying under this strict guidance day after day, and her fatigue was evident on her face. I was worried she might follow Amy's path. Stop pushing Sophia like this. Think about what you're doing, my mother-in-law interjected, unable to bear the situation. Mom, shut up. I don't want to hear anything you say. Taking the situation seriously, my mother-in-law finally told Amy to leave the house. Amy, you can't stay here any longer. Leave now. Why should I be the one to leave? You're the one pushing Sophia to the brink and harming her mental health. If you care about her as your own daughter, leave this house now. I can't believe you're trying to take my daughter away from me. My mother-in-law asked the distressed Sophia. Sophia, what do you want? Do you want to stay in this house or go somewhere else with your mother? Sophia's answer was clear. I want to stay in this house. I'm scared to be with Mom. Shocked by these words, Amy lowered her head and cried. But my mother-in-law's resolve was firm, and she escorted her daughter out of the house. Reflect sincerely on your actions. What you did can never be tolerated. With that, my mother-in-law closed the door. Afterwards, my sister-in-law ended up losing her job and home. She tried various jobs, but due to her personality, she struggled, and her difficult life continued. With her gone, I returned to my mother-in-law's home and regained our peaceful daily life. Sophia regained her peace of mind and started to smile every day. When we learned that she wanted to continue her studies, we, as a couple, decided to support her. A year later, Sophia successfully passed the entrance exam to S Academy, as her hard work finally bore fruit. We felt genuine relief and joy. Now Sophie continues to work hard towards her dream of becoming a teacher, and we hope to continue supporting the path she has chosen. My father passed away, leaving behind some belongings that I thought of sharing with my husband. However, the response I received from him left me in disbelief. Despite being married, my husband declared that the money I inherited from my father wasn't mine but his. I'm a 32-year-old female, and my relationship with Benjamin began during my third year of college. My first boyfriend, Charles, was financially irresponsible, spending recklessly on alcohol even though he still received an allowance from his parents. After enduring 6 months of frustration with Charles, I ended the relationship. The contrast was stark when I met Benjamin, an accountant with a calculated and intelligent demeanor. Although he did the bare minimum in terms of taking me out and buying gifts during our college days, I appreciated the attention. Benjamin and I started dating right after college, and our relationship progressed quickly. He was good-looking, charismatic, and I considered myself fortunate to have him. Despite his minimal efforts in the early days, I didn't mind as long as I felt valued. Our marriage happened when I was 26, and we were in a long-distance relationship at the time. Benjamin proposed after returning from a visit with his family in Colorado, expressing that he couldn't see himself with anyone else. Excitement overwhelmed me, but my mother, for some inexplicable reason, had never approved of Benjamin. Despite my dad liking him, my mother warned me against marrying him, expressing a bad feeling about the union. Disregarding her concerns, I proceeded with the marriage. Initially, our marriage was fine. I was working as a secretary, but a workplace disagreement led me to quit. Benjamin, who provided for our essentials, supported my decision. However, Things took a turn when I asked for money to buy a dress, and he dismissed my request, claiming I had enough clothes. As the frustration grew after repeated rejections, I turned to my parents for advice. While my dad suggested understanding, my mom was visibly upset. She decided to call Benjamin, and that marked the onset of the first serious argument we had at home. Benjamin accused me of being selfish, claiming that I'd only thought about money. I defended myself, questioning what was wrong with wanting a few things for myself. The heated exchange led us to sleep in separate rooms. Frustrated, I resolved to start working again and began searching for job listings the next day. Unfortunately, I couldn't secure anything decent. The only job that seemed worthwhile was not close by, and despite attending a few interviews, I received no calls. Accepting my fate, I began to feel like a student again as my parents started sending me money. For a while, I managed to be content, pushing away the pain of knowing that my husband wouldn't provide for me. I took care of bills whenever possible, trying to contribute to the household. However, when my dad fell ill, I felt guilty taking money from my parents, so my allowance was halted. This was about 8 months ago. I refrained from asking Benjamin for money, visiting my parents whenever I could. My dad's health deteriorated, and my mom struggled with managing both his care and the bills. I suggested staying over since I was unemployed, but Benjamin objected, fearing it would cause problems in our marriage. In desperation, I found a solution through a friend, Julie, 4 months ago. I lent her some money from my father, and she started a multi-purpose business. Handling the finances, I also received a reasonable portion of the monthly earnings, contributing to my dad's treatment. Whether Benjamin knows about this, I'm uncertain as I didn't inform him. At this point, all I want is for my dad to recover. In an update, I shared the difficulty of overcoming my father's recent death. He passed away over 3 weeks ago, and I was devastated. My mom came to stay with me, and even Benjamin, whom I thought had become emotionless, showed sympathy and care. He comforted my mom, often going above and beyond to get whatever we needed. This sparked a renewed faith in my marriage, suggesting that perhaps Benjamin had reasons for his previous behavior. As unbelievable as it may sound, my mom moved out a week ago. Later on, I accompanied my mom, and my dad's lawyer visited. That's when I learned about the thousands of dollars my dad had kept for me. Apparently, he had set aside the money after hearing my complaints about my husband, wanting to ensure I had a comfortable life. Mom received a substantial share as well. Before leaving my house, my mom advised me to keep this information from Benjamin. It puzzled me because I thought she was starting to like him, but I suppose I'll never truly understand. Considering expanding my business with Julie, I discussed the idea with her when I got home. She was enthusiastic, but suggested waiting a while since the complex was relatively new. Another notable event was my husband asking me out on a date upon returning home. Initially, I thought he was joking, as Benjamin rarely engaged in humor, especially since we got married. It turned out to be a pleasant change, and we enjoyed our dinner. Post-dinner talks centered around how my mom and I were coping. Benjamin inquired about my mom's well-being, and I assured him that my dad had taken care to ensure her comfort before his passing. That's when he found out about the money my dad had left me in his will. While I didn't disclose the amount, I saw no reason to hide the fact that my father had left me an inheritance. I spoke to my mom yesterday and shared details about my date with Benjamin. She was shocked, not surprising given the circumstances. She reasoned that his extra care was due to my dad's passing. However, when I mentioned that Benjamin knew about the money left for me, she expressed suspicion. She insisted that Benjamin was after the money my dad left and accused me of being naive. We ended up in a heated argument, with her claiming that Benjamin loved his money more than me. I defended my husband, attributing her dislike for him to her unfounded suspicions. After the phone call, I was in such a bad mood that even Benjamin noticed. When I told him about the argument, he laughed it off, stating that I would never take the money given to me. Before I could exhale in relief, he dropped a bombshell, saying that everything I had was his since we were married. He gave me a casual kiss on the cheek and fell asleep, leaving me restless and confused. Now, he wants to discuss the money, jokingly offering free advice on how not to spend it all. As my husband left the house, promising to see me in the evening, the dread I felt from the previous night intensified. I began to realize that my mom might have been onto something, and I should have heeded her advice to keep my mouth shut. The notion that his is mine because we're married was nothing but nonsense. While I acknowledge my mistake in sharing everything with Benjamin, it's a blunder I won't repeat. Update number 2. My dad left money behind, and it turns out Benjamin was truly after it. How did everyone else see this but me? Even Julie figured it out when I confided in her 2 weeks ago. Unable to discuss it with my mom due to strained relations, I didn't want to admit she was right about Benjamin. It wasn't an ego thing. I just didn't want to hear her suggest divorce again. Julie, a single mother, sympathized but had no clear advice. Eventually, I mustered the courage to discuss my fears with Benjamin, hoping for understanding. Unfortunately, it only led to a heated argument. I explained that the money left by my father was mine to use as I saw fit. But Benjamin asserted that, as a married couple, everything should be shared. When I pressed him on what he had shared between us, he argued that he covered all household expenses without consulting me. I countered that it was his responsibility, and he could have communicated if he needed money. In his eyes, I became the villain, and he ominously warned me of regret. The situation worsened as Benjamin stopped eating at home, dismissing my cooking, and presented me with bills to pay. When I resisted, he threatened not to take responsibility for the consequences. I refused to sleep with him, and 3 days ago, our power was cut off. Benjamin was absent, leaving me bewildered. Desperate, I called him, offering to contribute to the bills. He returned the next morning, and I handed him the money, having stayed with my mom. I confided in Julie, shocked at Benjamin's pettiness. Julie advised me to give him whatever he wanted for the sake of peace in the household. There was a clause, though, leaving me wondering if she subtly suggested filing for divorce. Yesterday, when I asked Benjamin for money for groceries, he refused, claiming I had the means to go to the supermarket. Another fight ensued on the spot. I confronted Benjamin, telling him he was being unreasonable and petty. In response, he accused me of selfishness, claiming I couldn't see what he had done for me all this time. After a moment of silence, I devised a plan. I informed Benjamin that I would act irresponsibly and selfishly, as he alleged I was, until he ceased his behavior. The next morning, Benjamin questioned why I hadn't ironed his work shirts. I replied that they weren't mine, and he had hands to do it himself. He laughed, called me wicked, and decided to go to the laundromat. My heart broke as he left the house. Eventually, I sought solace in my mother, sharing everything with her. As I suspected, she concluded that my marriage was falling apart and suggested filing for divorce. I stayed with her, crying my eyes out. I recently spoke with Benjamin, informing him that I wasn't feeling well and needed to stay with my mother temporarily. In response, he threatened divorce, claiming no use for a selfish wife, demanding I return home ASAP. Despite the white lie, I wonder if my actions were wrong. With both Benjamin and my mom seemingly in agreement, is this truly the end of my marriage? I'm at a loss for what to do. Update number 3. I decided to file for divorce before heading home. When I showed Benjamin the divorce papers, he seemed shocked. He insisted that divorce was just a threat, and he didn't really want it. Despite my skepticism, he begged me not to proceed with the divorce. After much contemplation, I agreed to give our marriage another chance. However, I made it clear that we needed to talk and set some terms. After a few days, Benjamin finally agreed to a discussion. I told him to resume paying bills and eating at home, and I committed to taking care of the house. I also informed him that I wouldn't ask for money unless it was for groceries or mutual benefits. Despite my reservations, I was willing to make it work. Benjamin claimed he was fine with the agreement, and I moved back into our bedroom. Initially awkward, things eventually normalized. Suddenly, 2 weeks ago, Benjamin changed his stance. I woke up to find him staring at me. When I asked what was wrong, he claimed our earlier agreement wasn't reasonable. Curious, I asked if he meant work, and he revealed he was referring to the money. Benjamin finally disclosed that he was aware of my business, but refrained from mentioning it because I stopped bothering him with trivial requests. He emphasized that he couldn't be the sole contributor to bills now that I had a source of income and likely more money than he did. Surprisingly, it made sense to me. I had unknowingly adopted his habit of keeping money to myself. We agreed to split the bills 50-50, and things returned to normal. 3 days ago, Julie informed me about a workplace accident and a fire in the Eastern Complex. After calculating the costs, I realized I needed a significant sum of money to cover damages and hospital bills for injured employees. Julie, dealing with her own responsibilities, couldn't offer much help. Despite my initial decision to handle it alone, Benjamin confronted me after dinner, revealing he needed money to pay off a loan he had applied for years ago. Still reeling from the calculations, I told Benjamin it wasn't a good time. He insisted, talking about more money, but my focus was on the damages. I asked for time to think, retreated to lie down, and Benjamin followed me into the bedroom. When I explained the situation, he told me to forget about the complex and give him the money urgently. It seemed absurd, and I asked for time to consider. The next morning, Benjamin accused me of being selfish again. I pleaded for more time, but he claimed he had offered a solution I refused. I contemplated paying off his loan and covering damages, but that would hinder my plans to start something new. Julie suggested paying her back gradually, but Benjamin threatened divorce again. He disclosed taking out a loan to help his brother and revealed his own debt, stemming from funds borrowed to buy our current house. Shocked, I decided to prioritize Benjamin and help him, putting the business on hold. Update number 4. I'm now divorced. It took time, but I discovered Benjamin had lied about his brother's situation. On a whim, I called John, Benjamin's brother, offering help. Confused, John didn't even recognize the caller. It turned out that Benjamin had deceived me. When I inquired about the real situation, Benjamin confessed that he had lost his job early in the year and was relying on a loan that was almost depleted. With almost no income, he needed to repay the loan in a few months. It was disheartening to witness Benjamin speak, and for the first time, I saw a defeated look on his face. When I questioned why he hadn't trusted me enough to share the truth, he claimed it wasn't necessary for me to know the details. Concerned about our financial situation, I suggested downsizing to a smaller home, but Benjamin reacted angrily. He questioned why I found it difficult to give him money to cover his debt when he had taken care of me for so many years. I found his statement amusing because even in the early stages of our marriage, I had taken care of myself. I dressed and bought necessities, paying bills after my parents began sending me money monthly. Now, with a substantial sum to my name, I continued paying bills and looking after myself. I recounted all these financial moves to him, excluding details about the business. When Benjamin threatened divorce, I welcomed it, tired of the secrets, lies, and the pain of being in a marriage devoid of love. I packed my belongings and left the house, seeking refuge with my mother. I informed Julie that I would be taking a break for some time, and she understood. Benjamin offered no apology this time, making my decision to divorce him easier. The divorce was finalized 3 weeks ago. I am now focusing on self-care and ensuring the success of the business. While I don't know how Benjamin is faring, I do know he no longer lives in our former home, and I haven't seen or heard from him. It seems like the end of my relationship with my husband. It will take time, but I'm making an effort to leave the past behind. As we conclude this story, we learn that the narrator has reached a breaking point with Benjamin, deciding to cut ties and prioritize her own well-being. The audience is encouraged to share their thoughts on the story and any similar experiences in the comments section. The narrator's journey involves moving on from a toxic relationship and focusing on personal and professional growth.
The divorce papers felt heavy in my hands as I sat in the courthouse hallway, wondering how 15 years of marriage could be reduced to a stack of cold legal documents. My soon-to-be ex-husband, Daniel Harrison, stood across the marble floor, laughing with his lawyer about something probably at my expense. He looked exactly like the wealthy banker he was. Expensive suit, perfect hair, and that smug smile that had once charmed me, but now made my stomach turn. I'm Olivia Wright, though for the past 15 years I've been Olivia Harrison, the perfect banker's wife. I gave up my own career in finance to support his, hosted the right parties, joined the right clubs, and smiled at all the right moments. That's what was expected when you married into the Harrison banking dynasty. Mrs. Harrison, my lawyer, Samantha Porter, touched my arm gently. They're ready for us. It's Ms. Wright now. I corrected her, standing up and straightening my simple navy dress. Time to reclaim my name. Inside the courtroom, Daniel's arrogance filled the space like expensive cologne. He'd fought this divorce every step of the way, not because he wanted to save our marriage, but because he couldn't stand the idea of me leaving him. Control was everything to Daniel Harrison. Your Honor, his lawyer began, my client has been more than generous in the settlement offer. Mrs. Harrison. Ms. Wright, I interrupted quietly. Daniel's jaw tightened. He hated being corrected. Ms. Wright, his lawyer continued, would retain the summer house in the Hamptons and a very comfortable monthly allowance. An allowance? I couldn't help but laugh. Like I'm a child. Well, you'll need something to live on, Daniel spoke up, his voice dripping with condescension. It's not like you've worked in 15 years. Someone has to take care of you. The judge looked between us, clearly sensing the tension. Ms. Wright, you're declining the settlement offer? Yes, Your Honor. I don't want his houses or his allowance. I just want what I brought into this marriage and my freedom. Daniel actually laughed out loud. What you brought in? You had nothing when we met. Everything you are is because of me. I met his eyes steadily. Then I guess I have nothing to lose. The next hour was a blur of legal terms and asset divisions. In the end, I walked away with my personal savings, my car, and my education, an MBA from Wharton that Daniel loved to pretend didn't exist. He kept the houses, the boats, the country club memberships, and his precious family name. As we left the courtroom, Daniel caught my arm. You're making a mistake, Olivia. You really think you can make it out there? The world's changed since you played at being a banker. I pulled my arm away. I guess we'll find out. Good luck surviving without my money, he called after me, loud enough for everyone to hear. You'll be back within a year, begging for that allowance. I didn't turn around. I didn't give him the satisfaction of a response. Instead, I walked straight out of that courthouse into the bright spring morning, got into my car, a modest Audi I'd bought with my own savings, and drove to the small apartment I'd rented in the unfashionable part of town. The apartment was a far cry from his mansion in Greenwich. 1 bedroom, basic furniture, and a view of the neighboring building's brick wall. But it was mine, and for the first time in 15 years, I could breathe. I opened my laptop and pulled up an email I'd received 2 weeks ago, one I hadn't dared respond to while the divorce was pending. It was from Janet Monroe, my old mentor from my banking days. Olivia, heard about the divorce. Time to get back in the game. The industry needs sharp minds who understand both sides of the desk. Let's talk when you're ready. The door's always open. Janet had gone on to become CEO of Atlantic Regional Bank, a smaller but rapidly growing institution that was giving the bigger banks, including Harrison Financial, some serious competition. She'd offered me a job right before I married Daniel. but I turned it down. He'd insisted that no wife of his would work in banking. It would look desperate, he'd said. I started typing my response, then stopped. Picked up my phone instead. Janet, it's Olivia Wright. Are you free for coffee tomorrow? Her laugh was warm and familiar. Finally ditched the deadweight? Meet me at Lorenzo's, 9 a.m. And Olivia? Bring your A game. Things are about to get interesting. That night, I dug through boxes until I found what I was looking for. My old banking certification files, financial analysis portfolios, and most importantly, a thumb drive containing research I'd done years ago on emerging market risk assessment. Daniel had laughed at my little project back then. He wouldn't be laughing soon. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister Kate. Saw the divorce announcement in the society pages. Daniel's people made it sound like you had a mental breakdown. You okay? I smiled, thinking about Janet's email and the plans already forming in my mind. Better than okay, I replied. I'm free. Another text came through, this one from Daniel. The country club called about your membership. Told them you wouldn't be needing it anymore. Enjoy the public parks. I deleted it without responding and went back to updating my resume. Let him think he'd won. Let him believe I was finished. Because while Daniel Harrison was busy playing king of his little banking empire, I was about to remind everyone who I was before I became his wife. And this time, I wouldn't be playing by his rules. I stayed up late into the night, reviewing banking regulations that had changed during my retirement, studying market trends, and drafting proposals based on my old research. By the time I finally went to bed, my small apartment was covered in notes and printouts, and my mind was racing with possibilities. Tomorrow, I would meet Janet and take the first step toward reclaiming not just my career, but my identity. Daniel thought he'd kept me in a gilded cage for 15 years, but he'd forgotten something crucial. Caged birds don't forget how to fly. They just wait for the right moment to spread their wings. And my moment was about to begin. Lorenzo's coffee shop looked exactly as I remembered it from my banking days. Worn leather chairs, brass fixtures, and the kind of quiet sophistication that old money tries so hard to imitate. Janet Monroe sat in her usual corner booth, reading the Wall Street Journal with a half-empty espresso in front of her. She looked up as I approached, her sharp eyes taking in everything, my simple but elegant outfit, my straight posture, my lack of the designer accessories I'd worn as Mrs. Harrison. You look better, she said simply. Marriage never suited you, Olivia. Banking did. I slid into the booth. I'm ready to prove that. Janet folded her newspaper carefully. Are you? Because the position I'm thinking of isn't entry level. It's not even middle management. I need someone to head up our entire risk assessment division. I felt my heart skip, but kept my face neutral. That's a big job. Huge, she agreed. The kind of position Daniel Harrison would kill to influence. We're expanding aggressively, moving into territories his bank considers their divine right to control. She paused, studying me. Of course, having his ex-wife in charge of approving multi-million-dollar loans might create some interesting situations. I met her gaze steadily. I know every trick in his playbook, Janet. Every shortcut, every handshake deal, every way he bends the rules without quite breaking them. Exactly why I want you. She pulled out a folder. Your starting salary would be twice what Harrison Financial pays their division heads. Full benefits, stock options, and complete autonomy in building your team. I opened the folder, scanned the terms. The numbers made me blink. One condition, Janet added. You start Monday. We have major deals pending, and I need someone who can hit the ground running. I'll need to review the current regulatory framework, update my certifications. Already arranged. Your credentials are still valid, and I've got you registered for the updated certification exams next month. She smiled. I've been planning this since I heard about your divorce filing 6 months ago. I felt a laugh bubble up. You always were 3 steps ahead. I learned that from you, actually. Remember the Miller account? I did. It was the last major deal I'd worked on before meeting Daniel. Everyone said it was too risky, but I'd seen something others missed. The loan saved the company and made the bank millions. Speaking of the Miller account, Janet continued casually. Guess who's been sniffing around for a major loan? Harrison Financial. I froze. Daniel's bank needs a loan. They're over-leveraged on some aggressive expansions. Need to shore up their capital reserves before the Fed's next audit. They've been shopping around quietly, but word gets out. She sipped her espresso. The application will probably cross your desk sometime next quarter. The implications hit me like a wave. Daniel's bank, having to come to us for help? To me for approval? You planned this whole thing, I said slowly. Janet's smile was razor sharp. I plan to hire the best risk assessment officer in the business. The fact that it might make your ex-husband squirm, that's just a bonus. I signed the contract right there at the coffee shop. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. My small apartment became command central as I rebuilt my professional life. The walls were covered in market analysis printouts, regulatory updates, and competitor profiles. I worked 18-hour days, refreshing knowledge that had lain dormant but never disappeared. My team came together quickly, sharp young analysts who cared more about competence than connections. I poached a few from the big banks, including Harrison Financial, not because of spite, but because I knew talent when I saw it. Word spread fast in banking circles. The ex-Mrs. Harrison wasn't just working again. She was becoming a force to be reckoned with. Atlantic Regional's approval rates were impeccable, our risk assessments thorough and innovative. My old research on emerging markets proved revolutionary when combined with current data analytics. Then came the morning I'd been anticipating. Maria, my assistant, placed a thick folder on my desk. Loan application from Harrison Financial, she said quietly. They're requesting an urgent review. I opened the file and felt a grim satisfaction. The numbers confirmed what Janet had hinted at. Daniel's bank had overextended, making risky bets that looked good on quarterly reports but created dangerous exposure. Now they needed a lifeline, and we were one of the few banks strong enough to provide it. My phone buzzed. A text from Kate. Just ran into Daniel at Le Bernardin. He looked stressed. Something about federal audits? I smiled and typed back. How interesting. By the way, having a little party next week. Professional celebration. Want to come? Wouldn't miss it. Upper East Side crowd still thinks you're living on ramen noodles. Can't wait to see their faces. I was reviewing the loan documents when Jan appeared in my doorway. They're getting desperate, she said. Their CFO called twice this morning. Let them sweat, I replied, not looking up from the papers. Their quarterly filing is due in 3 weeks. That's when things get really interesting. You found something in their application. I pointed to a series of numbers. They've been playing shell games with their asset valuations. Legal, technically, but very aggressive. The kind of thing that makes federal regulators nervous. Janet whistled softly. And with the new banking regulations, exactly. They either get this loan to shore up their positions, or they face some very uncomfortable questions from the Fed. What are you thinking? I closed the file carefully. I'm thinking it's time to schedule an in-person meeting. Applicants of this size deserve personal attention. Janet's smile was predatory. Want me to make the call? No, I said, picking up my phone. This one, I want to handle myself. I dialed Harrison Financial's main number, which I still knew by heart. Risk Assessment Division, please. Yes, I'll hold. This is Olivia Wright, Head of Risk Assessment at Atlantic Regional. We've reviewed your loan application and need to schedule an in-person meeting with your executive team. Yes, it's urgent. Tomorrow at 2 p.m. works perfectly. And please make sure Mr. Harrison attends. As CEO, we'll need his personal guarantees. I hung up and caught Janet watching me with admiration. You've been waiting for this, haven't you? 2 years, I admitted. Ever since he laughed in that courtroom. She nodded. Just remember, this isn't about revenge. No, I agreed, standing to gather my files. It's about justice. And proper risk assessment, of course. That evening, I stayed late at the office, preparing for tomorrow's meeting. I had my team pull every piece of data on Harrison Financial's operations, every market analysis, every potential weakness. My phone buzzed again. Another text from Daniel. Heard you're playing banker again. Cute. Try not to embarrass yourself tomorrow. I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled up the latest Federal Reserve guidelines on banking capitalization requirements and smiled. Tomorrow would be interesting indeed. Because while Daniel had spent 2 years believing I was finished, I'd spent that time becoming exactly what he feared most. A woman who understood not just banking, but power. And tomorrow, he would walk into my office and finally understand what that meant. At precisely 1:45 p.m., Maria's voice came through the intercom. Harrison Financial's executive team has arrived. They're in the main conference room. I took one last look in my office bathroom mirror, adjusting my crimson channel blazer, the first luxury purchase I'd made with my own money since the divorce. My reflection showed exactly what I wanted it to: power, confidence, and not a trace of the demure banker's wife I used to be. Tell them I'll be there in 10 minutes, I replied, gathering my files. Let them wait. Daniel Harrison had kept me waiting for 15 years. Through the glass walls, I could see them getting nervous. Daniel paced the conference room, checking his watch every 30 seconds. His CFO, Maxwell Peters, kept adjusting his tie. 3 other executives I didn't recognize sat stiffly in their chairs, probably wondering why they'd been summoned to a smaller bank for what should have been a routine loan approval. At exactly 1:55 p.m., I walked in. Daniel's face went through a fascinating series of expressions: shock, anger, disbelief, and finally, a poorly concealed attempt at condescension. Olivia, he managed, trying to sound amused. This is unexpected. Ms. Wright, I corrected him smoothly, taking my seat at the head of the table. Shall we begin? Maxwell Peters cleared his throat. Perhaps we should wait for the department head. You're looking at her, I interrupted, opening the first file. Now, about your loan application. Daniel's laugh was sharp, forced. This is ridiculous. We're seeking a $100 million credit facility. Surely the actual head of risk assessment is speaking. Janet's voice cut in as she entered the room. I suggest you listen carefully, Mr. Harrison. Your quarterly filing deadline is approaching, isn't it? The color drained from Daniel's face as reality finally sank in. He wasn't just facing his ex-wife. He was facing the person who held his bank's future in her hands. I started my presentation, methodically laying out every flaw in their loan application, every questionable asset valuation, every regulatory red flag. Years of watching Daniel operate had taught me exactly where to look. Your Midwest expansion was particularly aggressive, I noted, pulling up a chart. 3 bank acquisitions in 6 months, all heavily leveraged. The Fed's new capitalization requirements must be keeping you up at night. Maxwell Peters shifted uncomfortably. We've maintained all required ratios. Through some creative accounting, I finished for him. Legal? Technically, but precarious. 1 bad quarter, 1 regulatory review, and the whole house of cards collapses. This is absurd, Daniel snapped, standing up. We'll take our business elsewhere. Will you? I asked quietly. Before the end of the quarter? We both know every other bank in the region has already turned you down. That's why you're here. Janet smiled from her corner. Sit down, Mr. Harrison. Ms. Wright isn't finished. I pulled out another document, the final nail in the coffin. Your latest internal audit. Interesting reading. I particularly enjoyed the section on risk exposure in your Asian markets. Daniel's face went from red to white. How did you get that? I believe you know Thomas Chen, the analyst you fired last month for raising unnecessary concerns about your exposure rates. He works for me now. The room went deadly quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. Without this loan, Harrison Financial would face a Federal Reserve audit they couldn't pass. Daniel's empire would crumble. What do you want? He asked, his voice barely controlled. I closed my files slowly. Want? I'm just doing my job, Daniel, assessing risk, making sound financial decisions. Isn't that what you always said banking was about? Name your terms. Maxwell interrupted, shooting Daniel a warning look. I laid out the conditions. Atlantic Regional would provide the loan, but with strict oversight provisions. Harrison Financial would need to unwind its riskier positions, submit to quarterly external audits, and most importantly, restructure its board of directors to include independent members. You're trying to take control of my bank, Daniel realized, his voice hollow. No, I corrected him. I'm trying to save it from your ego. You have 24 hours to accept these terms. After that, I'm obligated to share my concerns with the Federal Reserve. The next hour was a blur of technical discussions, terms, conditions. Daniel sat in silence, watching his authority slip away with each passing minute. By the time the meeting ended, Maxwell Peters and the other executives were treating me with a deference that would have been unimaginable 2 years ago. As they filed out, Daniel lingered. You planned this, he said quietly. All of it. No, Daniel, you did this to yourself. I just happened to be in the right position to catch you. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. I made you who you are. That's where you're wrong, I replied, gathering my papers. I was always this person. You just never bothered to notice. After they left, Janet appeared in my office with 2 glasses of champagne. That, she said, was masterful. I took a glass, watching through the window as Daniel's team hurried to their waiting cars. It's not over yet. No, she agreed. But phase 1 is complete. Ready for what comes next? I smiled, thinking of the changes coming to Harrison Financial, the opportunities opening up in the industry, the looks on all those society faces when they realized who I'd become. Absolutely. The next few months transformed everything. Harrison Financial accepted our terms. They had no choice. The story sent shockwaves through the banking industry. The ex-wife, who went from trophy to kingmaker in 2 years, became legend in financial circles. Daniel was forced to step down as CEO 6 months later, after the independent board members discovered even more problems with his leadership. Last I heard, he was consulting in Dubai, far from the New York banking world he once ruled. I kept my position at Atlantic Regional, but now with expanded responsibilities. Janet and I were revolutionizing how regional banks operated, creating a new model of ethical, sustainable growth. 1 year to the day after that fateful meeting, I received a letter from Daniel's sister, Catherine. We'd been close once, before the divorce. "I never thought I'd say this," she wrote, "but you did him a favor. The bank's stronger now than it ever was under his control. He just couldn't see past his own ego to recognize what he had in you." I folded the letter and looked around my corner office. So different from the small apartment where I'd started my comeback. On my desk sat a new photo. Me ringing the opening bell at the stock exchange. Janet beside me, celebrating Atlantic Regional's record-breaking quarter. My phone buzzed. A message from Kate. "Guess who I just saw at Le Bernardin? Daniel's ex-girlfriend, the one he left you for. She was having lunch with her new husband, a junior analyst at your bank." I laughed out loud. Life had a way of coming full circle. That evening, I gave a speech at the Women in Banking conference. Looking out at the sea of faces, many of them women who'd been dismissed, underestimated, or pushed aside, I shared my story. Not to gloat, but to show them what was possible. Success, I told them, isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Later at the reception, a young analyst approached me. "Ms. Wright? I'm in a similar situation. My boss keeps taking credit for my work, telling me to be patient, paying my dues." I handed her my card. "Come see me Monday. Atlantic Regional is always looking for talent." She looked at the card like it was gold. "Thank you. You know, you've become something of a legend in banking circles." I smiled, thinking of that day in the courthouse when Daniel laughed at my chances of survival. "The thing about legends," I said, "is that they usually start with someone being underestimated." As I drove home that night, past the glittering towers of Manhattan's financial district, I thought about how far I'd come. Not just in terms of success, but in understanding my own worth. Daniel had been right about one thing. I wouldn't survive without his money. I would thrive without it. Because in the end, the best revenge wasn't taking his bank or exposing his failures. It was becoming the person I was always meant to be, the person he tried so hard to keep contained. And that person? She was just getting started. When the Wall Street Journal ran their annual Women in Finance issue the following month, my story was the cover feature. The headline read, "The Queen of Regional Banking: How Olivia Wright Transformed an Industry." Daniel sent a copy to my office, a yellow sticky note attached. "Congratulations. You proved me wrong." I added the magazine to my wall of achievements, right next to the original divorce papers. Together, they told a story, not just of revenge or redemption, but of reclamation. Because sometimes the biggest power move isn't taking someone else's throne. It's building your own kingdom.
Hello, everyone. I'm reaching out for advice and support under the pseudonym OP to maintain privacy. I'm a 30-year-old woman caught in a difficult situation, and I could really use some guidance. My emotions are a mix of confusion, anger, sadness, and feeling lost, leaving me with no choice but to share my story. To provide some context, until recently, my relationship with my husband, whom I'll refer to as Dill, was seemingly perfect. We dated for several years, and when he finally proposed, it felt like a dream come true. Dill was everything I had ever hoped for in a partner: sweet, caring, kind, and compassionate. I envisioned growing old with him, raising children, and having grandchildren. However, my idyllic vision has crumbled. Despite being initially oblivious to the signs, red flags began appearing over the past few months. Dill became increasingly distant and cold, and I found myself making excuses for his behavior. I convinced myself that his long working hours were the cause, attributing it to his dedication to supporting us and securing our financial future. I even blamed myself at times, thinking I might be the reason for his occasional outbursts. There were instances when Dill would come home late or in the early morning, offering explanations about extended work hours. However, I started questioning these explanations, realizing that he wasn't always working when he claimed to be. Despite having a day off, he concocted last-minute stories about being called in for a late-night shift by his boss. I ignored my gut instincts and dismissed these shady occurrences, convincing myself that I was being overly jealous and controlling. Today, everything changed. When Dill dropped divorce papers on me, I decided it was time to confront the situation. Instead of cowering, I surprised him with a revelation of my own. I calmly told him that he could take those divorce papers, but I had something up my sleeve. This marked a turning point in our relationship, and I need advice on how to navigate the challenges ahead. It's become evident that a woman named Donna played a role in Dill's recent behavioral shift, and I'm determined to unravel the truth. Any guidance or support would be greatly appreciated as I navigate through this difficult time. I was aware that Dill and Donna spend a significant amount of time together, but my suspicions heightened when I discovered he was increasingly choosing her company over work commitments. Despite being colleagues, Dill would casually dismiss my concerns, often gaslighting and manipulating me into believing I was overreacting or being irrational. Despite the burning suspicions that plagued my mind, I pressed on with my life, ignoring the late-night thoughts that surfaced when lying in bed alone, yearning for Dill's return from work. As Dill and Donna's friendship deepened at work, I noticed a shift in Dill's priorities. He began canceling our date nights at the last minute, attributing it to work obligations. However, subtle details revealed that Donna was consistently the only other person on his shift. Despite my discomfort with their increasing closeness, I chose to push those thoughts aside. Now, confronted with the shocking reality, I have yet to obtain concrete proof of Donna's involvement in this mess. Nevertheless, it's time to delve into the heart of my story. Dill blindsided me with divorce papers today, unraveling years of marriage. Struggling to comprehend the abrupt turn of events, I cried and pleaded with Dill to reconsider. However, he remained unmoved, offering no consolation. It felt as though I were facing an indifferent stranger, devoid of the warmth and love I once believed Dill possessed. As I gathered myself, attempting to suppress the overwhelming tide of tears, I repeatedly questioned Dill about the reasons behind his decision. His response cut deep. He claimed to no longer be in love with me, as if our entire history together meant nothing. To compound the emotional distress, Dill callously revealed his intention to sell my parents' house for a lucrative payday. It was a heart-wrenching blow, leaving me incredulous at his attempt to magnify my suffering after dropping such a devastating bombshell. The situation, however, struck me as oddly ironic. Reflecting on the past, I can't help but recall the casual remarks Dill used to make about how wonderful my parents' home was. He often spoke about wanting to live there during his retirement. My parents, who cherished Dill as much as I did, believed we would be together forever, solidifying this notion by naming him the owner of their house in their will. Their intention was to ensure that we both had access to our family home. Preserving the memories of my parents became crucial, especially now that they are no longer with us. Despite my emotional connection to the house, Dill's true nature as a manipulator and lacking compassion has become evident. It's heartbreaking that he is divorcing me and planning to sell my parents' home. In retrospect, signs of his ulterior motives surfaced, especially when Dill and Donna started their secretive meetings. Dill's comments about retiring and living in my parents' home were not idle musings. They were calculated plans, much closer to reality than I could have imagined. Even as I expressed justified anger and pain, a lingering love for Dill remains. However, in my damaged mental state, I comprehend that there's no turning back. Presented with neatly laid out divorce papers, it was evident that Dill had been orchestrating this behind my back. Despite professing love, he had already decided to divorce me and sell my family home. The revelation shattered the image of the man I thought I loved. Considering these devastating revelations, I made the painful decision to sign the divorce papers, sealing the end of our marriage. Dill, now my ex-husband, left for a hotel, callously advising me to find a better job for a new place since my parents' family home was no longer an option. His disregard for my feelings is evident in his intention to ensure my removal from our current house's lease. This stark reality exposes the extent of Dill's indifference. Despite never wronging him, he seems perfectly content to render me homeless out of spite and cruelty. I find it difficult to comprehend the depth of this situation. If it's not clear from what I've shared, I could really use some advice. I've never navigated a divorce, let alone face such a blindsiding tragedy in my life. Even when my parents passed away due to terminal illnesses, I had time to plan and prepare. This time, the suddenness hit me like a large speeding bus of bricks to the face. I understand many may suggest hiring a divorce lawyer to counteract his legal representation, but finances are tight. Lawyers' prices seem exorbitant online, and Dill, the primary earner in our household, convinced me to quit my high-paying job 2 years ago to manage the house while he handles the bills. In hindsight, it appears part of his scheme to make me helpless and dependent on him. Those days are over, and though I still love Dill, I'm fully prepared to go to war to ensure he doesn't take my parents' home from me. Update number 1. Hello, everyone. It's Op, back with another update. First, I want to express my gratitude to those who left kind and supportive comments. I truly appreciate it, given how alone, isolated, and stressed I feel right now. Many of you shared valuable advice, and I'm thankful for that too. I wish I could dismiss this as a bad dream, but unfortunately, things keep getting crazier. It's been a few days since my last update, and today marked the first time I heard from Dill since signing the divorce papers. When he called me earlier, I foolishly entertained a tiny hope that he might express a change of heart. I know it's naive, considering he just dumped me, and it will take time to get over him, despite recognizing his true, horrible nature. As expected, he didn't call to reconcile. Instead, his voice sounded shaky and angry in a different way. The first thing he asked was why I didn't tell him the truth about my parents' home. I inquired about what he was referring to, and he brought up the mortgage, a detail that had slipped my mind. The family home my parents left me was heavily mortgaged. Dill sounded furious, demanding that I rectify the situation by paying off the debt, or else he would be burdened with it. In response, I laughed in his face, and unexpectedly, Dill began to cry during our phone conversation. It was a mix of pathetic and satisfying, and I must admit, there was a strange sense of satisfaction in hearing him cry. He vowed revenge and abruptly hung up. I have a foreboding sense about what might come next, and it's clear Dill is serious. Any advice on how to handle this would be appreciated. Update number 2. Hello again, it's Op with another update. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who has been reading and supporting me. It means a lot. Unfortunately, things aren't improving, and it seems I might have to resort to drastic measures if there's no positive change soon. Dealing with the divorce and Dill's attempt to take my parents' home has been challenging enough, but today's events were beyond the pale. Sitting in my empty house, still in my pajamas from a sleepless night of crying over the divorce, I heard an aggressive knock on the door. Dill's voice called my name, accompanied by a strangely familiar woman's voice in the background, Donna. Peering through the peephole, I was immediately disgusted by the sight of her standing by Dill's side. Without opening the door, I firmly instructed them to leave my property immediately or face consequences. Despite my refusal, Dill and Donna escalated their shouting and banging on the door, demanding payment for the debt Dill claimed from the mortgaged house. I dismissed their demands, telling them to keep dreaming and suggesting they take the matter to court if they wanted the money. When their persistence continued, I had no choice but to call the police. They left swiftly, but unfortunately, the police were of no help since the incident wasn't captured on camera. What course of action should I take? I fear Dill and Donna won't relent until they believe they've obtained what they think I owe them. I'm reaching out to seek advice on how you would handle this situation. Update number 3. Hello, everyone. Thank you for sticking with me. Unfortunately, I'm back with another update, and it pains me to say that this drama is far from over. In fact, it's getting worse. Dill and Donna persist in pushing me, and I feel like I'm reaching the end of my rope. Firstly, I'll share some pertinent information. For privacy reasons, I'm changing the name of a well-known lawyer in our area to Jackson Goodman. He's a formidable figure you hire when you mean serious business, renowned for his track record of never losing in court. He's highly persuasive, often winning over juries and judges with his charisma. The reason this matters for you, the readers, is that I received a letter from none other than Jackson Goodman in my mailbox this morning. Given Dill and Donna's anger regarding the undisclosed debt from the mortgage house, I had a hunch they might pursue legal action against me. However, I didn't anticipate them hiring the most expensive and famous lawyer in our area. Now, I'm genuinely scared. In our small town, news spreads quickly, and this legal battle is likely to become public knowledge. As I mentioned in my previous post, I'm financially strained from not working and relying on Dill's support for so long. He was the one who urged me to quit my job, and now he expects me to hand over a substantial sum of money. It's utterly ludicrous, but due to my financial constraints, I can't afford a lawyer. Even if I could, the attorneys within my budget wouldn't stand a chance against someone like Jackson Goodman. According to the letter, Dill and Donna are suing me for the entire debt from the house, as well as for pain and suffering and legal fees. I find myself in a dire situation, and I'm unsure how to navigate it. Any advice on how to extricate myself from this predicament would be greatly appreciated. Update number 4. Hello, everyone. Op here, back with another update. It's been a while since my last one, and many of you have been wondering what has transpired. I wanted to check in and bring you up to speed on everything that has been unfolding in my life. I appreciate all the advice I received, and I've taken one particular suggestion to heart. Given my financial constraints, many of you suggested hiring a private investigator since I couldn't afford a lawyer. Taking that advice, I researched local PIs and found one who was affordable yet effective. For legal reasons, I won't disclose his name, but he has been instrumental in helping me gather crucial information. I tasked my private investigator with finding evidence of Dill's wrongdoing that could aid my case in court. Shockingly, he uncovered evidence of Dill's infidelity within our own home. The evidence had been right in front of me, and it was a painful revelation. However, I recognized its potential significance for my court case. As the court day approached, I asked my private investigator to accompany me, providing support and compiling information to present in court. Jackson Goodman, Dill and Donna's formidable lawyer, began his flamboyant act, defaming me with lies about being an awful, abusive person. However, when we presented photographic evidence of Dill's infidelity, the court's opinion shifted. It became evident that Dill and Donna were attempting to swindle me out of my parents' family home. Jackson Goodman, visibly unaccustomed to losing, looked on the verge of tears. The judge delivered the verdict, declaring both Dill and Donna responsible for reimbursing me for the house and settling the mortgage debts incurred during Dill's ownership. Moreover, they were ordered to cover my legal fees and court expenses. Just like on the phone when Dill called me, he broke down in tears right there in the courtroom. As much as I thought I might feel sympathy, considering the emotional turmoil he caused me in recent weeks, witnessing his humiliation felt deserved. Final update. Greetings, Internet folks. It's Op once again, and I'm here for the last update. Many of you have been curious about what unfolded after the court date, and I've been meaning to share all the details. However, I've been caught up in living my new life. Yes, that's right. I've found an amazing guy, and we've been dating for a while. He has helped me move on from the Dill chapter in my life. Upon discovering my new relationship, Dill resumed harassing me. Fortunately, I obtained a restraining order from the judge overseeing our divorce case. Now, if Dill or Donna come within 1,000 feet of me or my home, a simple call to the police results in their immediate arrest. Justice is sweet, and my new boyfriend has been incredibly supportive throughout this entire drama. I feel safe and secure in his arms, and I trust that he would never betray me the way Dill did. For those wondering about the fate of my parents' old home that Dill and Donna attempted to steal, that's where I'm living now. The old house, once shared with Dill, held too many reminders of our troubled relationship. With the house entirely paid off and no debt remaining, I am now the rightful owner of the family home, just as my parents intended. I'm happily residing there with my new boyfriend, and life is good. If my parents were alive to see me, I believe they would have supported and been proud of me for standing up to Dill's abusive manipulation and cruel behavior. Lastly, I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you on this thread. Your support, advice, and engagement have been invaluable. I couldn't have navigated through all this without your help. Thanks again. Well, that wraps up Op's story. If you were in Op's position and familiar with the details of her life, how would you handle the situation with the ex and all the complexities involving Dill and Donna? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Let's discuss. I've officially transferred the ownership of our house to my parents, and we're contemplating divorce. James, with a cold demeanor, pointed at me and callously insisted that I leave the house. He unleashed a stream of insults, supported by his parents' cheerful smiles, who seemed to silently endorse his actions. Nevertheless, I remained unfazed by their words, calmly accepting the decision to leave. Inside me, a well-thought-out plan accompanied the luggage I had prepared in advance. Hand in hand, I departed from the house without hesitation. They were oblivious to the gravity of the situation awaiting them. My name is Sally, just turned 50. Many years have passed since our marriage. Our children are now independent, leading lives away from us. I used to live the life of an ordinary salaried worker, but now, thanks to a friend's introduction, I spend my days as a teacher of handmade accessories, a hobby turned profession. This new job has become a turning point in my life, bringing fulfillment through interactions with my students and the joy of crafting every day. Some might have negative opinions about turning a hobby into a livelihood, but I am content. James and I met by chance at the company where I used to work. He was employed at a client company at the time, and as we started to meet often through work-related social gatherings, our relationship deepened. Eventually, we chose to marry out of love. After 3 years of marriage, our family was blessed with a healthy and energetic boy. He graduated from a well-known university and is now happily married, living a prosperous life. However, despite our son's success, the relationship between James and me became increasingly difficult to find joy in. Over the years, James underwent a transformation, displaying changes in behavior. The once gentle and considerate James became demanding, treating me like nothing more than a housemaid. His daily changing demands and preferences became a source of trouble for me. Lately, James has been easily angered, blaming me for trivial things, and instances of verbal abuse have been on the rise. I've been wanting to escape this life and start anew, but I'm tied down by an unpaid mortgage. Despite this, James quit his job without a clear reason and now spends his days lazing around the house. He hardly lifts a finger to help with daily chores, leaving me to manage everything on my own. The house we live in was recently rebuilt, and I funded it all. Managing the finances, I saved bit by bit for its reconstruction. It embodies my wishes and aspirations, a house I worked hard to build. I don't want it to fall into James's hands if I leave. Beyond the mortgage issue, this house symbolizes my dreams, with features like the spacious kitchen area reflecting my careful choices. Despite initial input from James on the house's design, I covered all the costs and wanted my wishes to be respected. Despite facing challenges, the house, with all its desired features, eventually became a reality, fulfilling our dream. I experienced a profound sense of joy about the reality of our new home. However, the cost of construction significantly surpassed our initial estimates, compelling us to take on a much larger loan than anticipated. Accepting such a substantial loan in our 50s was unexpected, but the prospect of the happiness our new home promised provided us with the energy to overcome this financial burden. On the flip side, James appeared somewhat sulky, as his opinions and wishes were not well reflected in the house design. He expressed discontent, considering it unnecessary and akin to throwing money down the drain. Ignoring his complaints and grumbles, I pressed on. Gradually, he stopped talking to me and began resorting to childish behaviors, such as scattering trash and leaving things disorganized to provoke irritation. I wondered when this situation, this life, would come to an end, pondering these thoughts every day. A few months had passed since we moved into the new house when suddenly the doorbell rang. We weren't expecting any visitors that day, leaving me curious about who it might be. As I prepared to go to the front door, James, surprisingly, got up and headed there before me, possibly aware of the visitor's identity. After a while, cheerful voices and laughter emanated from the entrance. When the door to the living room slowly opened, revealing the visitors, I saw the faces of my unexpected in-laws, Harold and Alice. Honestly, I always felt pressure in my relationship with them. When we first announced our marriage, they treated me coldly, criticized me for my lower social status, and maintained an awkward attitude even on our wedding day. Their interference continued post-marriage, and each time I interacted with them, I wondered how to handle the situation. Despite thinking there had been some change or settling down due to lack of contact, their sudden visit surprised me. Greeting them politely, I felt a slight tension, but they passed by me without a word, intentionally ignoring my presence and bumping into my shoulder. They marveled at the house, expressing envy at the spacious and user-friendly kitchen. James proudly showcased the house to his in-laws, and upon their return, the expressions on their faces seemed satisfied. However, James' expression turned stern, and he suddenly raised his voice in anger towards me, instructing me to hurry up and prepare tea and snacks. Overwhelmed by his words, I hastily prepared tea and served snacks, but his parents seemed dissatisfied, commenting on the hospitality. Despite my efforts, Harold expressed dissatisfaction, and as they quickly finished the snacks and tea, he commented appreciatively on the house's interior. James, with a broad smile, invited his parents to live together in the house, almost ignoring my presence. They listened to James's words and left, leaving me watching their retreating figures. I felt a significant gap between James and me, witnessing him chatting and laughing joyfully with his parents, something I hadn't seen in a long time. Subsequently, in response to James' invitation, his parents began visiting our house more frequently. Initially, it was a few times a month, but it gradually increased to several times a week, eventually becoming almost daily. However, their criticisms towards me never ceased, and James showed no signs of curbing them. James' attitude of blaming me, coupled with his parents' intensified disapproval, became more pronounced. His complaints about me not listening and causing our son suffering were relentless. Despite facing daily difficulties, I found myself unable to voice the frustration in my heart. All I could do was offer words of apology. The in-laws' visits increased beyond anticipation, and they started visiting even more frequently during my absence. They would come along with James, leaving clear evidence of their activities at home: scattered beer cans, empty bottles, and traces of spilled alcohol that seeped into our new rug. Despite my protests, the new house began to smell of alcohol and felt dirty. I couldn't understand why, despite not contributing to the household, James was quick to complain. His involvement in gambling added another layer of worry, as remnants of used betting slips surface regularly. Explaining the risks of gambling and its impact on our finances seemed futile. The losses were a significant blow, especially since the money used for gambling was hard-earned through my tireless work. Nearly a month into the frequent visits from the in-laws, they targeted the times when I was out. One day, returning home early, I found them leisurely spending time in our house. Surprised, I confronted them, but their snarky words and indifferent attitude made it clear that they considered my presence bothersome. Frustrated and stressed by the insolent attitudes of James and his parents, I realized I had reached my limit. Instead of succumbing to emotions, I decided it was time to devise a plan to address the situation. Amidst this turmoil, an unusual event occurred. During a time when I was supposed to be away, the in-laws visited unexpectedly. Expressing surprise at their unusual timing, I sarcastically commented on their avoidance of my presence. Ignoring my remark, they boldly entered the house. James welcomed them with a smile, leading them to inspect various areas, from the kitchen to the bathroom. Observing their meticulous checks, I sensed a hidden agenda behind their actions. Even as they left, they wore satisfied expressions, as if they had confirmed something. Curious and wary, I questioned their inspections and wondered if there was something they should tell me. I had cautioned James not to worry, emphasizing that it was none of his business. His behavior, however, hinted at concealing something from me. I suspected he was trying to manipulate me cunningly, but grasping the real intention proved challenging. Observing the situation became my only option. Then, one day after work, I returned home to find a large moving truck parked in front of our house, bearing the logo of a company named Moving Center. James appeared to be in discussions with the truck driver and representatives. When our eyes met, he pretended not to see me and disappeared inside the house. What shocked me more was the simultaneous arrival of my in-laws. They greeted me casually, and James welcomed them, leading them into the house. The atmosphere felt tense, and as I followed them inside, I noticed a significant change. The familiar furniture and belongings I knew had vanished, replaced by my in-laws' dated furniture, arranged as if this were their home. As I sat down on the sofa, they surrounded me with smirky smiles, conveying a sense of smugness. Their behavior indicated a pre-planned action, and though anxious, I decided to quietly wait and see what would unfold. The somewhat hurried gazes of my in-laws added to the atmosphere. They declared that there was something they needed to tell me, hinting at a hidden agenda. Bracing myself, I responded with feigned calmness, and James sighed deeply before admitting that he had sold the house to his parents. He proposed getting a divorce, and my in-laws nodded in agreement. Their smirky smiles suggested they were trying to toy with me. Despite their revelation, I remained unfazed, having anticipated their plan. I promptly signed the divorce papers, placed my wedding ring on the table, and declared my intention to leave the house. I had suspicions about the unnatural behaviors of James and my in-laws, especially since their frequent visits when I wasn't home. To confirm my suspicions, I installed surveillance cameras around the house, synced with my smartphone. On the first day, I observed their daily conversations. However, one day, I stumbled upon footage where James and his parents joyfully discussed selling the house. Shocked by this revelation, I decided to plan my next steps, searching for a new residence based on the information obtained from the surveillance cameras. I took the initiative to transfer the home loan from my name to James's. If they planned to remove me from our home, I believed they should take over the mortgage payments and responsibilities. The monthly mortgage, amounting to $1,900, was paid from my hard-earned salary. Doubting that James and his parents could afford this, I resolved not to provide any financial assistance. Free from the troublesome relationship, I moved to my new, well-arranged home with new furniture, ready to embark on a new chapter in my life. On my day off, I relished the prospect of thorough rest, sleeping in past noon. As I was about to doze off again, the doorbell abruptly rang. To my surprise, James and his in-laws stood at my doorstep, uninvited. I questioned their presence, and without answering, they intruded into my house, spreading out a document in front of me. They accused me of changing the name on the house loan without permission. Expressing disbelief at their sudden appearance, I learned that right after leaving the house, they received documents about the loan name change. James and his parents were shocked, claiming they were currently unemployed and couldn't afford the high monthly loan. In a furious outburst, James declared they wouldn't pay that amount. Attempting to enlighten them on the consequences of defaulting, I explained how interest and late fees could significantly increase the final payment. James initially seemed skeptical, but after searching for information online, his expression turned to one of shock and distress. I recommended looking for new employment for a fresh start. Their faces grew even paler as they realized the seriousness of the situation. They admitted to having no savings or assets, with James burdened by substantial gambling debts and no stable income. Frustrated, they pleaded for understanding and assistance, emphasizing the years they spent together. Unmoved by their pleas, I shut the door to escape their attempts to mend the relationship. Frustrated, they reported me to the police, leading to their removal from my property. Eventually, due to financial constraints, they relocated to a more affordable apartment on the outskirts of town. James secured a part-time job, supporting his family with that income. Meanwhile, my life remained unchanged, and I focused on my job. In my free time, I started a blog on handmade crafts, gaining attention and doubling my monthly income. Requests for me to serve as an instructor for workshops and courses increased. I had no thoughts of remarrying and planned to navigate life independently. Discovering an old household account book from the early days of my marriage brought back memories of our financial struggles. With a sense of resolve, I decided to build a new happiness on my own, placing the account book back on the shelf. My name is Emily. I'm 40 years old. I've heard my name means to grow up cheerfully. However, when I was 15, I found out that my father's ex-girlfriend was named Emily. Ever since, I've quietly doubted the true origin of my name. Honestly, as a kid, there are certain delicate past details about my parents I'd rather not know. They didn't really dote on me when I was young. My brother, 3 years older, is named Ryan. He's smart and charming. Both parents always wanted a boy. Ryan, as their first child, was loved immensely. Our grandparents believed the first child must be a boy, an old-fashioned thought. My mother gave birth to a boy, despite immense pressure. With this background, my parents love Ryan more than anyone else. What about me? I always got hand-me-down clothes from Ryan. Even New Year's money had a clear disparity. Relatives always invited Ryan. Instead of being told to be patient because you're elder, I was told to support the boys. A puzzling way to instill laddie-like behavior. I believe I was raised with a lot of discrimination. It felt like I was always many steps behind. My redeeming feature has always been my carefree nature. My parents said, "You never think about anything." If I thought too much, I might have become dark and resentful towards Ryan. Ryan is Ryan, and I am me. Our family is a bit strange, but that's okay. I decided to accept our family and didn't care about my parents' attitude. No matter the difference in treatment, I am thankful to my parents for raising me. Ren, as we were kids, is still my sibling. Deep down, I couldn't truly hate them. However, that sentiment wavered after a particular incident when I was in my late 20s. My father retired. Both he and my mother, a homemaker, lived on their pension. Shortly after, my mother had a fall, leading to paralysis in her legs. She had to be cared for. With my father retired, I thought he'd be around to help, but I was mistaken. "Hey, Emily, I can't do anything on my own, so come back home." The first thing my father said after a long time was outrageous. "What? That's impossible. If I return, I can't commute to my job." Instead of saying, "You can't do anything. At least try to learn or practice." How dare you talk to your father like that? Just quit your job and come home. Don't you care about your mother? It's not as simple as quitting and returning. My father has always been domineering. He had my mother take care of everything for years. Now that my mother has fallen ill, he's become a helpless man. It seems he's plotting to make me return and take my mother's place. My brother works closer to home. Ask him instead. Why does he only try to use me now? Even though he never cared much for me before. I finally moved out and have been living freely. I never thought I'd give in to him. But for some reason, he started calling my workplace. Because of this, I couldn't concentrate on my job, and my colleagues and boss started to look at me oddly. Due to constant calls, I worked so hard to get this job, which I really wanted. I wanted to continue working there forever, but because of my father's relentless calls, I became stressed, affecting my work. I had no choice but to quit reluctantly. I decided to return home, only to find it in a terrible state. My father, now without a job, seemed to have nothing to do. He became obsessed with horse racing and would spend all his pension. On the day it was paid, he was drinking more than before, and every morning, I'd find empty beer cans and wine glasses all over the table. I had heard that there were some savings set aside for retirement, but the household finances were in shambles. No wonder when I suggested hiring a professional caregiver, my father hesitated. The utility bills were overdue and were paid only when the pension came in. It's a paycheck-to-paycheck situation. At this rate, even when the pension comes in, it'll be gone in no time. I had to use my savings to stabilize our lives initially and then renovate the house to make it wheelchair accessible for my mother. Later, I found a job near home, left my mother in a daytime care service, and dedicated about $2,000 a month to care and living expenses. My savings, which I started accumulating since my first job, seemed to be running out. Despite working, expenses kept mounting. Meanwhile, my father neither worked nor took responsibility, constantly depending on me financially and in my daily life. In a harsh sense, I felt completely leeched on between household chores in the morning, work in the daytime, and caregiving at night. I felt I was reaching my limit. Ideally, I wanted to place my mother in a nursing facility and leave my deadbeat dad to fend for himself. This would mean all the money currently being spent on my father could be saved or used for my own expenses. However, my father vehemently opposed sending my mother to a facility, and she herself seemed to rely only on me, saying, "Why should I go to a facility when you're taking care of me?" I consulted my brother, but as expected, he was indifferent. It was clear that I was the one who had to make sacrifices. And so, I found myself trapped in what felt like a prison called home. 3 years after starting this hellish cohabitation, my brother suddenly contacted me, saying, "My girlfriend is pregnant, so we got married." He then visited with his wife, whom I'd never even met before. Wow, I was looking forward to meeting Ryan's sister, because of the way you talked about her, but she doesn't look anything like you. She's not cute at all. As soon as she sees me, Ryan's wife, Paisley, starts laughing. Needless to say, I felt a strong aversion to her sheer rudeness. Despite it being her first visit, she walks around our home as if she owns the place. She even enters my room without permission, uses my makeup, and then says, "I like this. I'll take it." She even rummages through the cabinet where my mother's jewelry is kept and asks, "How much can you sell 18-karat gold for nowadays?" She seems a little dangerous. She is definitely not a good woman, even though they're married. I think it would be better if they split up. But both my father and mother are only concerned about wanting a grandchild, to the point where they seem clueless. And I can't help but envy them a little. The thought of being related to this woman scared me a bit. My bad. Premonition came true on that very day. But I'm so nervous about raising a child for the first time. I wish someone could help me. Paisley says it sweetly, twirling her hair. "Then you should live here," said my dad, who had been staring at Paisley's chest the whole time, suggesting this with an lecherous look. "Really? Are you sure?" Of course, as my parents, brother, and wife are getting excited about living together, I couldn't help but ask. What will we do about the lack of rooms? You can move out. What? My father's words astounded me. That's a good idea. You should hurry up and leave. Can you move out soon? It might sound self-praising, but I believe I've been very dutiful to my parents, yet they're so quick to turn their backs on me. Hold on, I can't just be thrown out like this. I've been paying for Mom's caregiving, and I don't even have the money to move. What about Mom's care? I'll give you the money for caregiving or whatever. Thanks to working at a major company, not some small local business like you, I'm not struggling for money. All right, Emily, go to your room and pack up your things. Move out by today. He patted me on the back as if to usher me toward my room. He looked pleased, as if he had found a quality new host to leech off. Move out by today, he says, but it's snowing outside. I don't have any money. Where am I supposed to live from now on? Why? This doesn't make sense, does it? Without thinking, I voiced my true feelings. This isn't a joke. You're so naive, Emily. Listen, I won't say it twice. We're moving in because I'm having a child. The Aiden should leave. Taking aback, I instinctively looked at my parents, even at my mother, whom I had desperately cared for all these years. I wanted to be with my grandson. Just accept it, she said, smiling as if guiding me to acceptance. Saying so, he hastily packed up my room's belongings into a bag. At least wait a few days, until I find a place to live. But they forcibly dragged me by the arm and threw me out of the house. No matter how many times I rang the doorbell, they ignored me. Tossed around by my parents and finally by my brother, my life isn't their toy. Even when I was treated coldly as a child, I always smiled. It was my self-defense. But both my parents and brother misunderstood, thinking I could handle anything. This isn't a joke. Don't mess with me. Crying, I left my family home and wandered the streets aimlessly. Finally, I found a cab and sought refuge in an internet cafe. When I contacted a friend living in town, she miraculously offered to let me stay for a while. True friends are indeed priceless. With her support, I managed to save enough to live alone again. I haven't saved enough to leave town, but I don't want any more teas with my family. I decided to leave the state once I saved more. But one day, my father and brother came to see me. They had apparently found my address in some official records. May I help you? I intentionally used formal language as if they were strangers. In response, both of them kneeled down in front of me. I'm sorry, he pleaded in a tearful voice. Please help us. We need to kick Ryan's wife out of the house. When I asked for an explanation, they said the situation at home had deteriorated significantly. I don't want to live with you stingy lot. Laughing, Paisley had apparently kicked my brother and parents out of our family home. Paisley had completely brainwashed my father, and as a result, he made the mistake of changing the house's title to include her name. So it wasn't taken but rather given to her. I had heard that Paisley had fallen hard for my brother and pursued him fervently. But even back then, I felt something was off. My brother, who had become hairy in adulthood and practiced judo, was chubby and far from handsome. Why would Paisley, a slender and attractive woman who could have her pick of men, fall for him? I'd always wondered. It turned out she was after his money, and she had other men in her life. While the child's father was supposedly my brother, she continued to have affairs even after their marriage. When my brother found out and confronted Paisley, the next day everyone was evicted. Paisley probably sensed that her other relationship would be discovered and cunningly persuaded my father to change the house title. They were also naive. All their plans backfired, and they couldn't even live with the eagerly anticipated grandchild. Moreover, Paisley maxed out my mother's credit card. By the time they realized it, she had already bought electronics and precious metals. I always had a bad feeling about her, so I wasn't very surprised. It was more like I knew it. As far as I'm concerned, I have neither parents nor a brother. Who are you again? At that moment, the faces of my father and brother went pale. Are you going to abandon us too? Your mother can't even get in a wheelchair now. She's bitten. Don't you feel sorry for her after she was kicked out? He shouted. It was you who wanted to be with your grandchild and kicked me out. Mom told me to give up, so I gave up on being part of your family. Isn't it your fault, Dad, for changing the house title? My father was silently grinding his teeth. Wait, Emily. We are family. Let's help each other. My brother extended his hand, but I brushed it off. You ignored my calls when I repeatedly asked for help during Mom's care, and now you're saying this. Well, that's my brother hesitated, looking guilty. My father shouted in his place, Forget about Rian. Don't you have any gratitude for your parents? Have you forgotten all we did for you, you ungrateful child? Hearing this, I lost my temper, glaring at them with fury. I appreciated what you did for me. Me, which is why I quit the job I loved and returned home. I even spent money and renovated the house to make it comfortable. I put up with so much, yet because of your selfishness, I was kicked out. Do you really expect me to just say thank you? We apologized for that, didn't we? Oh, so apologizing makes everything okay. Well, then I'm sorry too for leaving you guys behind. I apologize. But I won't help since I apologized. You have to forgive me, right? How can you be so cheeky even as a daughter? As my father lunged at me, I quickly defended myself using the self-defense techniques I learned at school. Ouch! He cried out in pain and curled up on the spot. My brother just stared at me, stunned, not even caring about our father. I took the purifying salt that was by the entrance and threw it forcefully at both of them. I wish it would get into their eyes as they screamed and covered their faces. Stop showing me those greedy faces and get out. Saying this, I scattered the salt and kicked them out. People passing by noticed the commotion and stared. Normally, I would have felt embarrassed, but I was too angry to care. Wait, please. We can surely understand each other if we talk it out. We're blood related. Sorry. But I think you guys, my blood relatives, are the ones I can't understand the most. There's not a single decent person among you. The only sane one is me. Please never come near me again. Before they could open their eyes, I managed to distance myself from them. I kept throwing salt and yelling without any hesitation. Listen, I'll say this one last time. Never ever approach me again. I consider all of my family dead. So if something happens to you, I won't visit you in the hospital or attend your funerals. I gave them one last fierce glare and slammed the front door shut. Yet they still lingered at the front door. I want to talk, he said, sitting down. I'll call the police. And just like that, both he and my brother were gone. After that, I received several letters from my father. It seems that my parents took refuge at my mother's younger sister's place. The letters were pitiful, begging for help. But from my perspective, I felt sorry for the aunt who suddenly had to accommodate the elderly couple. In the third letter, it was mentioned that my father was pushing the caregiving responsibilities onto my aunt. This led to a fight with her husband, resulting in them being kicked out. Now they are renting a cheap apartment and are back to fighting with my brother's wife. They aim to reclaim the family home. They probably can't afford to hire a lawyer. Considering they changed the property title themselves, they probably don't stand a chance. My brother, still separated but not divorced from his wife, had an affair. He became the cheating husband. The woman he was involved with is a friend of his wife's. It seems like a trap, but there's no evidence. Consequently, the divorce discussions are at a standstill. My brother claims his wife's affair ruined the family and is demanding compensation. His wife argues that there's no evidence I cheated while raising our child, but my husband did. She seems to be asking for hefty compensation, property division, and child support. Since neither of their affairs can be proven, the divorce discussions are going nowhere. As for me, I met a man at one of my jobs, and we got married. It was a workplace romance, so we were wary of being seen dating in public. Instead, we rented apartments near each other. We spent most of our days at one or the other's place, essentially living together. Then one day, oh, this actress is getting married. Should we? That casual proposal as if we were just heading to a convenience store, remains a fond memory. We're both down to earth, not into grand gestures. I'm glad he didn't attempt a big surprise. Given that I'm not the type to react much, it might have felt awkward for him. But life is full of surprises. 2 years after getting married, I found out I was pregnant with triplets. Having had no experience with kids, even those lacking siblings, it was overwhelming. Taking care of one would be hard enough, let alone 3. But with ample support from my husband and his family, we've been managing 1 boy and 2 girls. When I found out, I was determined to love them all equally. However, when I looked at them, such determination was unnecessary. They're all adorable, and it's impossible not to give them my all. The only challenge is when they all want to hold my hand at the same time. I've turned it into a game. We'll switch after 100 steps. However, kids are fickle. Suddenly, they'd say, "I want to hold hands with Daddy today." To the children, it seems both their mom and dad love them equally, which is a joy. I hope to continue building a family where everyone, true to my name, shines brightly in happiness. I am Ava, and this is the tale of the challenges I faced in my relationship with my mother-in-law, Sophia. Despite living away from Sophia and my husband William's father, Benjamin, for years, distance couldn't shield us from Sophia's determination to disrupt my life. Sophia, with her somewhat old-fashioned beliefs, harbored a dislike for me that spanned years. When William secured a job near his parents, we found ourselves back in Sophia's sphere of influence. Dealing with Sophia wouldn't have been an issue for me, as I had learned to navigate toxic and controlling individuals through my own problematic relationship with my parents. Benjamin, my father-in-law, had always been supportive, making things easier for me. The real problem arose when Sophie gained access to my then 9-year-old daughter Luna. Luna, always affectionate and enjoying family time, only knew Benjamin and Sophia as her grandparents due to our no-contact relationship with my parents. Despite my past issues with Sophia, I set them aside for Luna's sake and allied with her to maintain a healthy relationship with her grandparents. William, valuing family deeply, made it impossible for me to cut off Sophia sooner. While Benjamin and Sophia were generally affectionate towards Luna, a persistent issue lingered with Sophia. She consistently criticized Luna's diet, claiming that I wasn't feeding her properly. According to Sophia, Luna needed more nuts for protein, accusing me of removing essential nutrients from her meals. Repeatedly explaining Luna's nut allergy, even the smell triggering severe reactions, didn't sway Sophia. She insisted I was wrong, asserting that Luna needed exposure to overcome her allergies and accused me of being a bad mother. I half expected this from you, Sophia. We've consulted with a pediatrician, and Luna receives balanced meals. People won't die if they don't eat nuts. But Luna could face severe health complications if she consumes them, I explained. Despite my efforts and the doctor's advice, Sophia never accepted the logic. She firmly believed that exposure was the best way to eliminate allergies. Exhausted from trying to reason with her, I faced accusations of being a bad mother. Sophia even attempted to convince Luna to eat allergenic foods, but Luna, aware of the consequences, consistently refused, growing increasingly concerned about Sophia's actions. I decided to discuss my concerns with William. I expressed my worry about leaving Luna alone with Sophia, fearing that she might sneak allergens into Luna's food for exposure therapy. Don't be ridiculous, Ava. My mom may be old-fashioned, but she knows her limits. Besides, Dad is always there to intervene in her experiments. Luna loves spending time with her grandparents, and we can't just tell her to stop. William reassured me. But Sophia is not improving her attitude towards Luna's allergies. I am genuinely worried about Luna's safety every time she stays with her grandparents without me. We need to address this. I'm sick with worry, I insisted. Relax, Ava. There's no need to cut off my parents over something so trivial. Luna deserves the love of her grandparents. She's content with them. You know what? Since you're so concerned about Mom, I'll talk to her. I'm sure she'll listen to me. William assured me that he would communicate our concerns to Sophia. His words rang true. considering Luna genuinely loved her grandparents. I couldn't bring myself to tell Luna to stop seeing them. If she had expressed any desire not to see them, I would have respected her wishes. However, I hadn't realized that no one could stop Sophia, not even William, who had failed to change her ways. The turning point came at Luna's 11th birthday party. Benjamin and Sophia were invited, and they promised to attend. Sophia seemed overly excited, and my motherly instincts were on high alert, though I couldn't pinpoint why. Sophia and Benjamin were among the first guests to arrive, surprising me since Sophia usually wanted to spend as little time near me as possible. She handed Luna a large square box wrapped in birthday-themed paper, saying, "Happy birthday, dear Luna. Here's your gift. Grandma has got you the best gift ever." Luna expressed her gratitude, and Sophie added, "The gift is so big. What's in it, Grandpa?" "I don't know, Luna. Your grandma picked the gift, and she won't even tell me what she got you. We'll both find out when you open it. Open Grandma's gift and see what she got you. I'm sure you'll love it, my dear. I'll be your absolute favorite grandma. I can't wait to see what you gave me. I'm so excited." "We can open all the gifts after cutting the cake. Luna, let all your friends come, and once we are done with the cake, you can go on to open the gifts." No. You need to let Luna open my gift before she cuts the cake. That's the entire reason why I came extra early, to give her my gift," Sophia insisted. While I grew suspicious of Sophia's behavior, Luna appeared visibly happy to receive a nice gift from her grandma. The large, heavy-looking present fueled Luna's excitement, and she eagerly anticipated opening it, allowing her to start opening her gifts when all her friends arrived. I yielded to Luna's insistence on opening Sophia's gift before the birthday cake, as Sophia had told her it needed to be done the correct way. I didn't want to make her sad on her birthday, so I allowed it. Little did I know what disaster would follow. On her birthday, Luna and her parents were betrayed by the one person they were supposed to trust. Sophia not only ruined Luna's birthday, but also turned everyone against her. As Luna opened her gift, she discovered a large cake inside with her name on it. Her joy lasted only a minute until she became unconscious. William and I rushed to our daughter, confused and terrified, noticing the swelling of her throat. In disbelief, I saw William rush to get an epinephrine while someone else called the police. Knowing who was responsible, I confronted Sophia, demanding, "What the hell did you give Luna? What's in that cake?" Sophia feigned innocence, saying, Nothing, Ava. It's just a normal cake. I don't understand what transpired. There must be some action on your part that led to Luna fainting. It appears evident that you have neglected to provide her with proper nutrition, despite my prior warnings about potential consequences. You seem to have ignored them. Please refrain from attempting to shift the blame onto me. Just moments ago, Luna was happy and in good spirits, and now she appears to be experiencing an allergic reaction. I implore you to disclose what you have done to cause this distress to Luna Sophia. I sincerely hope you did not tamper with the cake. I regret not keeping a closer watch on you when you promised to procure the best gift for Luna. Inform Ava of your actions and take responsibility. Look at Luna. She is turning blue. Ignoring Sophia's presence, I focused on Luna and rushed over with the epinephrine that I typically use for my child. Although the swelling subsided somewhat, Luna remained unconscious. It became evident that a hospital visit was the only viable option to ensure her complete recovery. The room was filled with palpable concern for Luna. Tears welled up in my eyes, and even William appeared on the verge of tears. Sophia, already in tears herself, seemed somewhat frightened. At that moment, I resolved to dissect the cake and discover its contents. What I uncovered left me utterly shocked to my core. I demanded an explanation from Sophia, questioning her sanity for giving my daughter a cake filled with nuts. I had explicitly warned her numerous times about Luna's nut allergy. "Sophia, what is wrong with you? You callously ignored my cautions and included nuts in the cake, jeopardizing Luna's well-being. How could you be so recklessly foolish? My only intention was to safeguard Luna, not to cause her harm." I detested the fact that Ava imposed such strict limitations on Luna's diet. While it's true that she might experience adverse reactions at times, gradual exposure could have been a solution. My frustration erupted when, in response to Ava's actions, I confronted her, exclaiming, "Are you out of your mind? My daughter is allergic to nuts, for God's sake. She could have died from this reaction. Who granted you the authority to unilaterally decide how to handle her allergies? Look at the mess you've caused. I am Luna's grandmother, and I have the right to care for my baby. I assure you she will recover in time. All of you are overreacting, attempting to frighten and punish me for nothing. I bet this is all part of Camilla's plan to tarnish my reputation. Listen to me, Sophia. If things go my way today, you will face severe consequences for your actions. But right now, ensuring my daughter's well-being is my top priority." As I finished expressing my concern, the ambulance arrived with paramedics. They attended to Luna and transported her to the hospital, with us accompanying her. The doctors at the hospital informed us that Luna would need time to regain consciousness and would have to stay at the hospital for a day or two. We were emotionally overwhelmed. I found solace in William's comforting arms after breaking down in the hospital. Once composed, I contacted Benjamin to update everyone that Luna was no longer in immediate danger. After hanging up the call, I turned to William and expressed my deep resentment, telling him, "William, I will never forgive Sophia for what happened today. Do you realize that she could have endangered our daughter's life?" William replied, "Ava, I've been contemplating the gravity of the situation. Trust me, it's beyond belief, something I wouldn't have accepted had I not witnessed it firsthand. My mother has transformed into someone so heartless that she's unrecognizable to me now. Sophia orchestrated all of this merely to prove that I am a negligent mother. She feigned concern for our daughter's happiness, but it never occurred to her that she was putting Luna in grave danger. Even after everything unfolded, she persisted in claiming that I had orchestrated the entire incident. Today has been an eye-opener for me, revealing the extent to which my mother is willing to go to tarnish your image. I can't express how deeply sorry I am for not realizing this sooner and for not taking decisive action to limit her presence in our lives. I feel a profound need to shield Luna from my mother's toxicity. I failed as a husband and an even worse father." The gravity of the situation started to dawn on William, while Benjamin, who had always been a reliable grandfather, was undoubtedly affected by Sophia's egregious actions. This time, they were determined not to let her escape the consequences easily. We have come to a pivotal moment where we can no longer turn a blind eye to Sophia's harmful influence. It is clear that her actions pose a significant threat to Luna's well-being, and we cannot allow her to continue wreaking havoc in our lives. Sophia will no longer have a place in our family. We are resolved to protect Luna from any further harm and ensure that she grows up in a healthy and nurturing environment. This may be a difficult path, but for the sake of our daughter's safety and happiness, it is a decision we are committed to enforcing," William declared. Following a profound discussion, my husband and I swiftly reached a decision while Luna was still in the hospital. It was time to return home. Benjamin, Sophia, and a few guests stayed behind seeking updates on the situation, presenting the opportune moment to address Sophia's transgressions. 4 hours had passed since the incident when we arrived home. In the living room, we found Benjamin scolding Sophia, who nonchalantly typed away on her phone. Beside them lay the untouched birthday cake that Luna never had the chance to cut. Despite the sight bringing tears to my eyes, I restrained my emotions. As soon as they noticed our presence, Benjamin and Sophia rushed towards us. "I just got an update," I said. "Luna is in good hands, and she'll recover soon, though she's still unconscious. The doctors are optimistic. Thank God, Luna is going to be all right." I was frantic with worry, but it seems there was nothing to be concerned about. It wasn't even a significant issue. Luna will be fine, and her immunity against nuts will improve in no time. Her allergies will become a thing of the past. I told you I know what's best. However, at that moment, William unleashed his anger on Sophia, berating her for everything. Benjamin joined in expressing his disapproval, and the guests, visibly shocked, stared at Sophia with disdain. I, too, was seething with anger. "I've had enough, Sophia," I declared. "We've given you multiple chances to prove yourself, even after your actions led to my daughter being hospitalized. You show no remorse. This is the final straw. We will never allow you near Luna or our family again. You are banned from this house." Sophia retorted, "You can't dictate where I go. Your son won't cut me off over nothing. I won't let you take away my granddaughter just because we disagree on parenting." "No, Mom," I responded firmly. "You will never come near me or my family again. Dad is welcome here anytime, but you are not. He's the only rational grandparent Luna has. He's made earnest efforts to protect Luna from harm. Today, you sent Luna to the hospital, insisting it was the right decision. I cannot allow someone so callous to be around my daughter." Sophia couldn't fathom her own son turning against her. She placed utmost trust in William to defend her, unaware that he was a reasonable man, not deluded like her. Surprisingly, even the guests began berating her. Sophia found herself cornered with nowhere to go. Not even Benjamin sided with her. In a fit of desperation, she screamed at us, blaming me for intentionally setting her up to humiliate her. "This is your fault, Ava. You've managed to turn everyone against me. I won't forgive you for this. You should be begging for our forgiveness. Your actions have tarnished your own name and taken you away from Luna. You'll never see her again. I'll sue you for grandparents' rights. I'll take you to court, and the judge will grant me visitation. Just wait and see. I won't need anyone in my corner." I responded firmly, "Good luck trying to get grandparents' rights when you're in jail. I bet the judge would find it amusing to have a felon ask for grandparents' rights after endangering her own granddaughter." Sophia protested. "What do you mean, Ava? Why would I go to jail? I haven't done anything wrong." "Haven't you? What you've done is a crime, Sophia. You can be arrested by the police for knowingly exposing a child to allergens. It's considered a form of poisoning. Perhaps you weren't aware, but William and I know. We've already called the police on you. Here they are. They're coming to arrest you." In denial, Sophia retorted, "No, you're lying. This can't be happening. You can't get me arrested for this." Sophia's panicked expression revealed her desperation as she pleaded with us to drop the charges. Tears streamed down her face, and she descended into hysterics. Just then, 2 officers entered and informed her that she was under arrest. Desperately, she clung to our hands, begging us not to send her to jail. William, unmoved, instructed the cops to take her away, while I gave Sophia a cold stare, signaling that her deceitful game had come to an end. In a last-ditch effort, she turned to Benjamin for help, imploring him to intervene. "Benjamin, do something, please. You can't just let your wife get arrested like this," she pleaded. Benjamin, however, stood firm, declaring, "When my wife has done something truly horrifying and shown no remorse for it, I will not protect her. For years, I've warned you to amend your ways, and you never listened. Today, you put my only granddaughter in danger. I was only trying to protect her, not realizing it would hurt her so badly. Please, Benjamin, I am your wife. You need to help me," Sophia begged. William, reinforcing his decision, stated, "Sophia, I've already kicked you out of my life. It's the right thing to do. In fact, that's what I intend to do as well. Tomorrow, I will talk to a divorce lawyer. I want to be done with this as soon as possible. There's no way I'm staying with a psycho like you. This time, I will protect my granddaughter and my kids from your presence," I declared. In a state of shock, Sophia pleaded desperately, "No, no, no, Benjamin. You can't do this to me. I'm your wife." Ignoring her pleas, Benjamin instructed the cops to take her away. Sophia continued crying and begging for help, bringing a tumultuous end to an event that had long concluded. A sense of tranquility settled within me as William, Benjamin, and that returned to the hospital after the departure of the remaining guests. The others, clearly upset with Sophia's actions, pledged to inform everyone about her reprehensible behavior. The following day, our little daughter Luna woke up showing considerable improvement. However, she displayed an intense fear of Sophia. Luna cried, imploring us to keep her away from her grandmother, recounting how Sophia had frequently tried to force her to consume allergens. Addressing Luna's fears, we assured her that her grandma would never hurt her again. We made a solemn promise that Sophia would no longer be a part of our lives, emphasizing Luna's love for her grandpa, who would continue to be a supportive presence. Luna, still traumatized by the recent events, expressed her aversion to Sophia. To assist Luna in processing her emotions, we enrolled her in sessions with a child therapist. Concurrently, William and I began couples therapy to enhance our communication as a family. The support of Benjamin played a crucial role in our collective healing, and we witnessed significant improvements, fostering a stronger bond among us. Meanwhile, Sophia's life took a swift downturn after the incident. Her actions had consequences, and the repercussions of her behavior became evident in the rapid decline of her circumstances. Once Sophia's own family discovered her reprehensible actions, they scolded her and promptly severed ties with her. Even her friends, repulsed by her behavior, distanced themselves from her. Faced with the consequences of her actions, Sophia found herself in a desperate situation, crying and pleading with everyone for bail money. Unsuccessful in garnering support, Benjamin filed for divorce the very next day, and Sophia was served with legal papers while still in jail. Sophia's descent into turmoil accelerated upon receiving the divorce papers in her holding cell. She unleashed a torrent of screams. In the following months, Benjamin successfully secured a straightforward divorce, capitalizing on the adult state laws, with the police report serving as a damning testimony. Simultaneously, our legal pursuit against Sophia unfolded. Although she was expected to compensate us for Luna's medical bills, her lack of resources led to a lengthy sentence as the judge ruled against her. Additionally, we obtained restraining orders to ensure her distance from our family. Confident that Sophia would not have the opportunity to approach us again, we remained vigilant. However, in the unlikely event that she attempts to breach the boundaries, she should be prepared to face the unwavering protection of Mama and Papa Bear, who are resolute in doing anything necessary to safeguard Luna.
Hello, I'm Bianca, 30 years old. It's been a while since this incident occurred, but I feel the need to discuss it while the details are still fresh. Let me begin from the start. The first person I want to introduce you to is my husband, Matt. Matt and I first met back in high school. I was a shy kid with too much anxiety to make friends. However, for reasons only known to God, Matt took a liking to me. We were paired as lab partners in chemistry, and that's how we started talking. It took me a while to open up, but when I did, Matt asked me out on a date. Keep in mind that Matt was one of the most attractive guys at our school, athletic and smart. Despite being an anxious mess, I wasn't oblivious. I said yes, and our one date turned into many more. The longer I spent time with him, the more comfortable and open I became. I loved that I could finally express myself around someone. Matt was caring and understanding, never pushing me to do anything that would make me uncomfortable. I felt like I had hit the jackpot with him. Now, let me introduce you to my mother-in-law, Olivia. Olivia had faced challenges in life. Her husband, Matt's dad, had passed away when the boys were young. She raised them on her own, and I was always in awe of how she managed it. However, the issue was her unbearably overprotective nature, especially towards Matt. The first time I met Olivia, she scowled at me, and her overprotectiveness only intensified over time. She seemed to have a vendetta against me, never missing an opportunity to talk trash. Initially, I didn't pay it much mind, but as it continued, I spoke to Matt about it. One evening at dinner, when Olivia made a rude comment about my appearance as Matt left the room, he walked back in and confronted his mom. He told her she couldn't make such comments and defended me. Olivia tried to downplay it as a joke, but Matt stood his ground, demanding an apology. Even though I knew Olivia's apology wasn't sincere, it felt amazing that Matt stood up for me. I was grateful that Matt had my back, no matter what. Olivia continued to behave the same way even years after Matt and I were together, but it became easier to bear knowing that Matt had my back. The next person I'll introduce you to is Trent, Matt's younger brother. Trent was the only other person who made an effort to talk to me. He took an interest in getting to know me, and being Matt's family, being comfortable around him was a lot easier. We shared a lot of the same interests, and in general, got along really well. Matt was actually happy that I got along with at least one of his family members. For the longest time, I thought I had made a special friend with Trent, but as I tell you the events of the story, you'll realize just how wrong I was. The last person I want to introduce you to is Rachel, Trent's wife, and my sister-in-law. Rachel was the kind of person to bend over backwards to please someone else, regardless of whether the person was right or wrong. When she met Olivia for the first time, they got to talking and Rachel pretty much agreed with every view that Olivia had about me. Soon, Rachel became Olivia's partner in everything against me. That really hurt me. I mean, Rachel didn't even know me and she made an effort to get to know me, but she hated me because Olivia did. Over time, I learned to let go of it. Coming back to my relationship with Matt, we decided to get married once we were both financially stable. That took about 3 years after graduating from college. Once we had well-paying jobs and were able to purchase a house, we decided to tie the knot. Of course, Olivia was not happy with that. She tried to sabotage our relationship in many ways while we were engaged. For example, she tried to convince Matt that he was settling for me without ever having gone out with anyone else. She even tried to set him up on dates with other women, which he vehemently disagreed with. That one really hurt. I knew she didn't like me, but to actively try to make her son a cheater, something was deeply wrong with her. At our wedding, Olivia pulled another stunt to disrupt the good mood we were all in. When it was her turn to make a toast, she began to talk about how her son was marrying a woman she disapproved of and genuinely hoped that he would come to his senses soon and leave me. I cried, obviously, but Matt was furious. He had her kicked out, and for the rest of the night, he never left my side. That incident was what made Matt and me lose contact with Olivia. We didn't speak to her, except for the holidays, for the entirety of the next 2 years. We only saw her at Trent's wedding, and we tried our best to avoid her because, quite frankly, we were happy for Trent. We were trying to celebrate his big day, but somehow Olivia managed to corner us and she asked to talk. Matt didn't want to give her a chance, but I asked him to let her speak. After all, we could hear her out, but we didn't have to accept what she said. Look, I just wanted to say that I'm really sorry for everything I said that day at your wedding. If you were really sorry, you would have come over to our place and apologized. You had 2 years to do it, but you never did. I felt embarrassed. There was no way for me to behave on my son's big day, and I should have realized that if my son was happy, I should have been happy too. I guess I just didn't have the courage to face you. But we did call you on the holidays and your birthday. Even if you couldn't apologize face to face, you could have done it over the phone. It was just very hard for me. Okay, I'm still owning up to my mistake. I'm sorry, I'm still angry with you, and if Bianca doesn't forgive you, we'll go back to the way we've been operating these past 2 years. I liked that Matt allowed me to have a say in it. Unfortunately, I was very big on keeping family close. So of course I told her I forgave her. I didn't want Matt to be estranged from his only parents. Olivia seemed very grateful, and for a while after that, she treated me well. Then, about a year later, she went back to her old ways. This time, Rachel joined her too. They would constantly mock me, be it in things I said or did. It didn't matter because they always found a way to make fun of me. I tried my best to let go of things and kept Matt calm too. I knew that if either of us said or did anything, it would only end with us cutting all ties with Olivia, and I didn't want that for us. But one weekend, Matt and I were rudely interrupted by Olivia, Rachel, and Trent. It was supposed to be a weekend where Matt and I would sleep in and catch up on a bunch of shows that we had started watching. But that plan went out of the window when we heard banging on the front door. I lazily made my way to the door, and as soon as I opened it, Olivia and Rachel pushed past me and walked in. Trent followed them too, each of them holding a box that looked a little heavy. As Matt walked over to the living room, I could see that he was just as confused as I was. What's going on? What are you guys holding? This right here is proof. Proof of what? Of you having an affair. Excuse me, what makes you think that I've been having an affair? I always knew there was something wrong with you, and I was not alone. I felt the same way too. I mean, at every family gathering, you suddenly had work once or twice. It's fine, but every single time, that's suspicious. It's not suspicious. I'm literally a nurse. You guys just happen to be there whenever I get called, and I get called in other times too. Wow, you're bold, lying right to our faces when we have proof. Matt, I swear I haven't ever cheated on you. I don't know what proof they have in there, but I promise you it's not me. Calm down, Matt, it's okay. I doubt you'd ever cheat on me. I'm just curious to see what Mom and Rachel found. Believe me, your views about your wife are about to change once you see them. How did you even get this evidence? Rachel and I hired a private investigator who followed Bianca around for the last 6 months. We just got the evidence from the PI's office and we came here straight away. That's beyond creepy and violating. What the hell is wrong with you guys? You have no say in anything, you cheating piece of crap. Enough, let Bianca and me see the evidence. I was furious at this point. What had I ever done to these two? I had always made sure that I had been out of their way, and yet they tried to come between Matt and me. To hire a private investigator to follow me around for 6 months, that made my skin crawl. Who does something that deranged to get rid of someone they don't like? I was more than curious to see what these results were. Matt looked at me, and for a moment, we had a silent understanding that everything was going to be okay. Matt knew I could never cheat on him. The reason? I have really bad social anxiety, it's almost crippling. It takes a long while for me to get comfortable with someone. He knew firsthand how he had struggled to get me to even talk to him. The last thing I could possibly do is talk to some stranger and sleep with them. Granted, working as an oncology nurse had been helping me get over my anxiety. I would come home after work and just shut down for the next few hours, and Matt had seen and dealt with all that from the start of our relationship. I had never met someone who was so understanding and patient. I had always thought that I would end up being single for the rest of my life. So, when the universe dropped the perfect guy for me in my lap, why the hell would I do something so horrible to him? We opened one of the boxes and saw quite a large number of pictures, and there were some of the investigator's notes paired along with them. But in all of those pictures, there weren't any clear faces. This woman did look shockingly like me, and for a second, my heart did drop. I turned to look at Matt, and his face had drained of color. I began panicking, so I searched the pictures for any signs that might prove that it wasn't me. I could hear Olivia and Rachel sniggering behind me. I was so close to giving up and crying until I came across this one picture where this girl had a tattoo on her right arm. I had no tattoos. I showed the picture to Matt, and his fear turned to confusion. It was like we were speaking in a silent language. I immediately knew that we had to figure out whose pictures we were looking at. We opened the other 2 boxes and began to scour through those pictures and notes. And that's when, in one of the notes, the investigator mentions me getting into a car with a particular license plate that looked very, very familiar. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, so I showed it to Matt. He took one look at it and burst out laughing. All of us stared at him in confusion. Matt then leaned down to my ear and whispered whose car it was. I was so shocked that I couldn't help but burst out laughing too. Olivia, Rachel, and Trent looked very confused. Now they waited for either Matt or me to explain what we were laughing about. But that never happened because Matt and I kept going through the pictures and just laughing even more. This made Olivia and Rachel really irritated. So they spoke up, "What's going on? Why are you guys laughing at the proof of Bianca cheating? Yeah, are you one of those couples that don't mind a third person?" "Oh God, no, absolutely not. We just found out something really, really funny." "What could possibly be funny about cheating?" "Oh, that's not me in the pictures." "Yes, it is. We looked through a couple of the pictures and it's definitely you. Look at this one picture. See the tattoo on the girl's hand?" "Yeah, Bianca doesn't have any tattoos." "What if it was a temporary one she put on so she could avoid getting recognized?" "I honestly hate having tattoos on me. I've never even put a temporary tattoo on me." "Okay, well, we made a mistake. What's so funny about that?" "What's funny is the identity of the man in these pictures." "The man? You can barely make out who that is. How do you know who he is?" "Because of the investigator's notes. Here, take a look at that car plate. Do the numbers look familiar?" Rachel grabbed the paper out of my hand. Olivia and Trent gathered around her to read the paper. As soon as they read it, I could see the range of emotions that they experienced. Olivia's eyes grew wide and her mouth fell open in shock. Rachel's face went white while Trent began sweating profusely. You see, the number plate was that of Trent's car, and the more you look through the pictures, the more you begin to clearly see that the man was Trent. Matt silently passed the pictures over where Trent's face was almost clearly visible, save for either a mask or a pair of sunglasses that he used to cover his face. Now, I didn't know why Trent was cheating on Rachel, but I must admit that it was really sweet to see Rachel's world come crumbling down the same way she wanted mine to fall. I was curious to find out why Trent was cheating, but I decided to just let Olivia and Rachel start the drama. I retreated and stood next to Matt. We were both trying our hardest not to break into laughter. "Trent, what is this? Are you cheating on me?" "Listen, I can explain." "Are you serious? This is not how I raised you." "I'm sorry, but I never loved Rachel to begin with." "What? Are you serious?" "Unfortunately, yeah." "Why? What did I do that was so wrong?" You didn't do anything wrong, Rachel. I was just in love with someone else from the start. Who was it? Bianca. Excuse me? What the hell is wrong with you? Man, really? You were in love with Bianca? You chose this ugly witch over me. Since when? I've been in love with her since Matt introduced her to us. She was just so beautiful, and she was calm and quiet. I don't know, I liked that. Plus, when she did get comfortable enough with me, I found out that we shared a lot of the same interests. Oh God, I'm going to be sick. So, you found someone who looked just like Bianca. I knew you guys were already trying to ruin their marriage. I sort of hoped I could speed it up, and if they did get divorced, I could swoop in and have her. First of all, she is not some property that you can have. Secondly, get the hell out of my house. You are sick and twisted and beyond any help. I hope you rot. Never come back, never speak to me or Bianca again. As for you guys, Mom and Rachel, I want you out too. But we didn't even do anything. You did enough. I entertained your little game, but now I am done. It's beyond disgusting that you hired someone to follow my wife around so you could try and break up my marriage. I want nothing to do with any of you. Out. I can't even begin to describe how queasy I felt. That was the last thing I expected. I just remember Matt holding me until I started breathing regularly. I was disgusted by the way Trent saw me. I had only gotten comfortable with him because he was the only one in Matt's family who actually tried to get to know me. But to find out that he had made that effort because he wanted me was beyond disgusting. Matt was not feeling any better. He was fuming. He couldn't believe that his own brother was capable of being such a creep. He promised me that he would stand by any decision I made regarding everything that happened. I obviously wanted zero contact with all of them, especially Trent. I never wanted to see his face ever again. Of course, Trent did try to reach out to me about a month after everything had happened. He actually tried to convince me to leave his brother. I later found out that he had sent those messages to me after he had gotten divorced and lost everything he had to Rachel. I had blocked him right away then, but when I think back on it now, it's amazing that he possessed that amount of audacity. Anyway, I had to go back to therapy for a while after that incident. I needed a place to vent about my feelings, and since it concerned his brother, Matt would get too wound up about it. He too went to therapy to sort his feelings out. It's been about a year since all of that happened. Matt and I have moved on and are living full and happy lives. We haven't seen or heard from Olivia or Rachel since then. I hope, if not anything else, that they learn to never meddle in anyone else's life. Back then, I was a mess after finding out what Trent thought about me, but now I'm at a place where I can laugh at it. I'm glad I came out of it strong, and even more glad that Matt and I's relationship also grew stronger. Always make sure to be kind to all those in your life. Thanks for listening.